Hello, 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 everyone. Hold on a second. Let me make sure that I've got all my recorders going. So we make sure that we don't lose any of this amazing material we're going to be playing with tonight. Hold on a second. I don't see my recorder. Where's my recorder? There it is. All right. Welcome to Secrets of Human Influence, Mind Control Skills for teaching people how to, or teaching you how to get people to believe what you say, do what you want, anytime, anywhere, under any circumstance, for any reason. I'll be your guide tonight. I'm Dr. David Snyder. I'll give you my pedigree in just a moment. Tonight is going to be, it's kind of a fun reunion for me, which I will tell you about later in the webinar. We had some issues getting to this point, and so they tried to keep me from getting you this information. I'm going to use the proverbial they for a moment. Tonight, I'm going to pull back the curtain. I'm going to show you how influence with human beings actually works and why many people, although well-meaning, don't quite get it right. If you've ever wondered why you feel like you did everything right in a situation or circumstance and you still got the wrong answer or the wrong behavior, if people have told you yes to your face and then turned around and done exactly the opposite of what they guaranteed you or promised you that they would do, this is a webinar you're going to want to pay a lot of attention to. Okay, if you stay until the end of this webinar, I'm going to teach you the exact patterns, both visually, verbally, and behaviorally, of what to look for to know who's most open to your influence, who is not. And when I say not, I don't necessarily mean that you can't influence them. It just means you're going to have to work a little bit harder to get there, right? The way most people go about persuading and influencing other people to do things is basically backwards. And once we understand that basic concept and we start approaching things from a more primal level, you're going to find out that people are just going to kind of gravitate to you. You're going to have this weird kind of charisma that as you move through the world, people will just not be able to ignore you. Now, whether you want that or not, that's a different issue, right? But what will happen is as you go through the different processes that will teach you in the systems that will give you access to, you're going to become a very, very, very adaptable, changeable kind of human being, right? You're going to be able to look at a situation and you're going to be able to size it up and modify the version of yourself that you bring to that interaction so that you are most likely to get the outcome that you want. Okay. So that being said, if you stay until the end of tonight's webinar, I'm going to teach you some very, very powerful things, right? I'm first and foremost, I'm going to teach you why most people get influence wrong. I'm going to teach you how to look at somebody and know within 2 seconds if they're going to be open to your influence or you're going to have to pull out some of the heavy guns, right? How do we differentiate the low-hanging fruit? And I'm not saying that in a derogatory way from the ones that I'm going to have to work harder for, right? Then I'm going to teach you the secret backdoor into every human being's nervous system. It is one of the most powerful, simplest, most effective ways to just hack a person's nervous system and make them just focus in on you, pay attention in the most beneficial way possible. It's so easy. It should be illegal, but it's not, right? And when you hear it, and many times, and if you've been on my webinars before, we'll talk about that in a minute, then you probably have heard this before. And the reason I keep coming back to it is because nothing beats it. This is literally one of the most unbeatable ways to get anyone, any group of people, but usually it's one-on-one, to just focus in on you, see you as an ally, a friend, a potential partner romantically or professionally or socially, and just build on that relationship. Then I'm going to teach you, in the time that we have, the secrets of emotional bonding, right? This kind of piggybacks on the back door that we just talked about, but you have to understand that there's a hidden trigger that every human being has, that the moment you press or you pull that trigger in them, they respond in a very desirable, benevolent, beneficial way in the direction of where you want them to go. If you miss this, okay, you're going to go spiraling in the other direction and you're going to hear no, or I'm not interested, or I need to talk to my wife, or I need to talk to my husband, or Tell me about your competition. You're going to hear all kinds of objections and excuses for not doing the thing that you know you want them to do. But if you hit this trigger, you hit this one trigger, boy, the floodgates of yes open like there's nobody's business. Once again, it's so simple and so straightforward. It shouldn't be this easy. But once again, most people try to come at human beings from the perspective of rhetorical argument, logic, things of that nature. It just doesn't work, right? In most cases, unless you can physically enforce that, it just doesn't work. So I'm going to teach you the secrets of emotional bonding, right? And we're going to have experiences together that allow you to really just drill down and come away with some very powerful hands-on tools that you can begin to leverage right away. Then I want to talk to you about something that is a little bit different. It's called the 4 pillars of irresistible hypnotic influence. These are 4 macro categories of influence that if you can master one of them, the world will open up. If you can master 2 of them, the world will open up and it will follow you wherever you go. If you can hit 3 of them, all bets are off because you automatically get the 4th one, right? There's 4. And we need to understand what those are, that they're pervasive in every level of human society and human interaction. And if you can master these 4 basic areas, actually 3, you only need 3, right? If you master any one of these 3 basic areas, then you're going to find your charisma, your command presence, the credibility and the authority and the attractiveness that you have just escalating. Okay. And if we have time, depends on how fast we move through the process together, right? I want to teach you a very little known technique for literally getting anybody to say yes to whatever you want them to, even if they just looked you in the eye and told you no. Okay. All of these are parts of a much larger system, a set of programs that I've put together over the years, and I've been teaching to law enforcement, Defense Department people, CIA, counterintelligence, not to mention members of the legal profession, the medical community. I've had a lot of people from a lot of different places come through my trainings, right? Some are 3-letter agencies, some I can't even talk about. Some are just, you would expect them to be there, right? These are things that constantly get the job done, right? Ultimately, I'm going to teach you how to take control of your life, how to take control of the reins and the triggers of human influence and really use them to get the life you want the way that you want it, by mastering yourself first. And then by mastering yourself, you can extend that out into the world around you, and life gets easier and easier. And at the very least, it will get more interesting. That being said, for those of you who are first timers here, shout out your name, where you're checking in from. For those of you who are brand new, my name is Dr. David Snyder, and I am an actual doctor of acupuncture and Oriental medicine. I also have a doctorate in Chinese energetic medicine, which is the shamanic, medical, and the more woo stuff that was the early Chinese medicine, right? I have more energy healing credentials than McDonald's sells hamburgers. I've been an NLP trainer for a long, long time. In fact, I've been named one of the top 2 NLP trainers in the world for the past 9 or 10 years. And with your luck, I'll make it for an 11th year. But anyway, I have a 10th degree black belt in the martial arts, 15 plus, almost 30 years now of teaching human beings just like you how to go out into the world and get whatever they want through the power of ethical human influence. Okay. And I've, the material that you're going to be exposed to today is drawn from some of my most powerful hypnotic programs. I've been creating and authored over 15 different products on various forms of human influence, from the therapeutic to the romantic to the sales and marketing level world, and all points in between. I'm going to teach you some of the most powerful tools from among those systems, and we're going to play with them over the course of the next 120 minutes to 180 minutes and have a lot of fun doing it. So that being said, just so I know who I'm talking to and what you guys want to know about, tell me who you are, where you're checking in from, and what is the most powerful thing that you could take away from tonight's webinar. If you come away from tonight's training with just like 1 or 2 solid gold things, right? What would they be? What would you want to be able to do? Or what context or environment would you want to be able to function in at the highest level possible and just get your outcome? Go ahead and type those things in the chat. While you're doing that, I'm going to do a super shout out to my brothers and sisters in our YouTube world. I want to thank you all for coming out and finding us. I know a lot of you this may be your first time. You haven't heard from us in a while. The reason for that is because some platforms whose names I won't mention were engaged in the practice of shadow banning. I won't tell you who or how or what, just to say that we're back now. So let's get this party started, as they like to say. So Carlton is asking how to turn leads into clients. Oh, you are in the right place, my friend. Bob says how to avoid resistance. Excellent. I thought I saw just Pam was saying how to help clients. Is that what I saw? Helping people too. Absolutely. You know, one of the problems that we have with influence and persuasion trainings is that the moment somebody looks at and especially if you're somebody who's been the target of unethical influence or bullied in some way, we look at people who are like me, teaching people how to influence other human beings, and we don't know what to think about that, right? Because there's a part of us that really wants that power, a part of us that really wants that ability to just move through the world and get everything we want. But there's another part of us that remembers what it was like to be the target of influence, to be made to feel bad or manipulated or guilty or shamed or embarrassed or less than, because the people using the influence were using techniques designed to target your pain. They were designed to target the areas where you feel deficient to do the one thing that we're talking about. And this is the first rule of influence. Everything human beings do is in response to a feeling. It's either a feeling they want more of or a feeling they want a whole lot less of. Let me tell you that 2 more times, okay? By the way, this is how we work in Planet David. If there's something I really want you to remember, I will repeat it 3 times. A, so you have time to write it down. B, because 3 is the magic number for your unconscious mind to grab a hold of information and hold on to it in a functional way. When you come to our live events like Killer Influence or Real World Identity by Design or Self-Mastery Supercharger, everything you do, every drill you get is going to be done 3 times. 3 times as the operator, the person performing the technique. But you're also going to do it at least 3 times as the subject, the person receiving the technique, the person receiving the benefits of the technique. That's not a fluke. We have found that, and see if this resonates with you. How many of you, by show of type of 1 or that's me in the chat, how many of you have ever been to a seminar? Like maybe a hypnosis seminar or an NLP seminar or something. Let me, and just validate for me if this sounds familiar to you. You walk into the room, maybe you've got some study materials, maybe you don't, right? The teacher comes in, he stands up in front of you, lecture, 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 and now we'll demonstrate the technique. He picks somebody, can I get a volunteer, please? And he pulls the person up. He or she does the technique. There's rounds of applause, much rejoicing. Oh, that was so cool, right? And then what do? You find a partner. If you're lucky, you find a partner and you go and practice the technique. But how do you practice it? A, you do it 1 time as the practitioner and 1 time as the recipient. If that's your experience when you go to seminars, type me in the chat. I'm not calling anybody out. I'm calling your attention to a difference that makes a difference. How many of you have ever gone to a seminar, been blown away by the material, excited about the material, and then you walked out of the seminar room, and by the time you got home, you didn't know how to use it? Anybody? Okay. If you said yes to both of those things, one leads to another. The reason that you don't hold on to techniques is A, your identity, your consciousness, your recall is anchored to your environment. Okay, it's called state-dependent learning. State-dependent learning. There's a field of psychology, not quite well known, it's called object relations theory. There's the other side of that called embodied cognition. Your environment and the people that you associate with dramatically impact who you believe you are and what memories, talents, skills, and resources you can access at any given moment. Now, everything I'm teaching you is presupposing that the material you learned is actually something you can use out on the street. Unfortunately, a lot of things that we go to learn, like in the NLP world, sometimes the conversational hypnosis world, they sound really cool. They look really cool when they're demoed. And they kind of sort of work in the seminar room. But then we go out into the real world, and it's like we never took the seminar. Right? It's like, you don't know how to start. You don't know where to begin. Anybody have those experiences? Just type in the chat if you had those experiences. It's okay. I've been there. I've been that guy. Right? And after having it happen to me like for the 30th time, I said, this has got to stop. There has got to be a better way to do this. I'm giving you the better way right now. First of all, if this is the scope of everything that there is to teach you about the art and science, and there's a lot of science here, about strategic human influence, SHI, strategic human influence. This is the scope of everything there is to learn, guys. Even in 120 minutes, 180 minutes, 3 hours, I got time for this. So here's my promise to you. I am going to take you as far down this rabbit hole as I can. I'm going to give you hardcore, hard-hitting, real-world experiences, actionable techniques that you can take out into the world starting tonight and start using them and start seeing change and transformation and more yeses in your life. Would that be okay? Yeah. And then I promise you one more thing. I promise you that I will show you how to get access to even more power, how to get access to the full battery of persuasion systems that take everything you're learning tonight and make you superhuman. This is as close to a superpower as you can get. Now, the first thing that you have to understand about influence, anytime, anywhere, under any reason, human beings do not make decisions based on logic. They don't make decisions based on fact. They don't make decisions based on rationalization. Okay? Rationalizations are excuses, not decisions. Let me say that 2 more times. Rationalizations are excuses, not decisions. Every decision a human being makes towards something they want, away from something they don't, is based on a feeling. A body feeling, a conscious or other than conscious feeling. It's either a feeling they want more of or a feeling they want a whole lot less of. And if you can control and manage and influence the body feelings a human being experiences in your presence, then all of their decisions, I can't use the word control, but it's as close as you can get. All of their decisions become extremely, extremely malleable and predictable. Notice what I said. You can't always control, but you can predict. Okay? This is the fundamental thing. Human beings do not make decisions based on logic. They will use logic to justify a decision they have emotionally made. They will use logic and emotion to build a story around why they're doing the thing that they're doing, but that's not the decision. That's the justification. Do we understand the distinction now? There's a decision people make and the excuse they give you for making it. And many times, the excuse they give themselves for making it. Many people make decisions for less than ethical reasons, but they can't admit that to themselves, much less the communities that they're in. So they'll make up a story that for themselves and a story for the other people. We call that lying. Okay. The rationalization factor of the human nervous system evolved to help you to survive in communities. It helped you to be able to game out in your own mind what's acceptable and what's not. How do I get away with this behavior and then frame it in such a way so that the people who see me do it or experience me doing it won't kill me? That's where your rational mind comes from. Its whole job is to make up stories, right? And that, my friends, is the crux of everything. But what generates those stories? What generates the stories? The body feeling. Everything starts with a stimulus that generates a feeling, and everything cascades from there. If you can control that one thing, then everything else becomes manageable. Okay? So, first rule, everything human beings do is in response to a feeling. It's either a feeling they want more of or a feeling they want a whole lot less of. Are we good with that? By the way, tremendous power in stories. Our whole culture, our whole evolution is based on it. Nick was talking about stories help us remember and sharpen. Yes, they do. The fact there's no way that we can relate to the world without a story structure being created. And we talk about that in the super advanced influence classes. When we start moving from like nuts and bolts, cause and effect language, awareness patterns, things of that nature, into the more quantum levels of influence, where we can create different forms of entanglement with people's nervous systems and move information back and forth. We have drills for that, right? But most people, it's outside their pay grade because they can't do this yet, right? So this is the first thing. You must control body feelings. The first person's body feelings you need to control are yours. Okay? First person's body feelings you need to control are yours. I'm going to give you a brain hack today. Would that be okay? How many of you would like to be able to, how many of you would like to be up to 31% better at everything? Anybody? Oh, I see some people. I'll tell you tomorrow. I'll tell you tomorrow. No, I'm teasing. All right, here's how it works. How many people have ever heard the statistic? It takes about 10,000 repetitions to master something. Anybody ever heard that statistic? By the way, it's not true. I think it's a very malleable statistic. Okay. So you guys know what nerves are, right? Dendrites and neurons and axons and all those cool things, right? You know, the space between each nerve or each neuron is called a synapse, right? And synapses are one of the primary facilitators of learning. It creates what we call neuroplasticity, the speed with which one nerve connects to another nerve through these synapses. All right. So I'm not going to be my friend Chase and get all neuroscience-y on you, right? But this is important because, again, David says I can be up to 31% better at everything by doing what I'm about to tell you. Well, how do you know that? Well, because I've listened and I've studied, right? Here's the deal. If you look at something and you want to learn it and you decide I'm going to take this super serious and I'm going to focus and I'm going to drill and I'm going to drill and I'm going to drill and I'm going to work and I'm going to drill, right? It's going to take you about 10,000 repetitions to 10,000 hours, depending on what we're talking about, to master or create. Let's get real neuroscience-y. It's going to take you about 10,000 repetitions, give or take, to create one new nerve connection. In other words, I got a nerve here and I got a nerve here and I want to connect them. It's going to take me 10,000 repetitions for these two to connect. You guys with me on that so far? Okay. But if I approach that same task in a playful, fun, casual, let's see what happens way, if I make it as fun and gamified and exciting as possible, guess how long it takes to make that same nerve connection? What do you think? Give me a number. No veterans, just the people who are new. Bob says 3. Bob, you're close. Closer than most. Half the time. Denise says 21. Nope. A couple more and I'll. Here's the magic number. 12. Let me say that again. 10,000 doing it the classic way, nose to the grindstone, work hard, take it seriously. 10,000 repetitions to make one nerve connection. Fun, playful, easygoing. Let's have a ball. Let's see what happens. 12. Okay. But wait, there's more. How many are familiar with a gentleman by the name of Chris Voss? Anybody? If you haven't got his book, Never Split the Difference, why not? You need that book, right? He's taken everything I teach in Killer Influence for the last 20, 30 years, however long it's been, and just put it in. He didn't take it from me, but the parallel studies are there, right? I was watching an interview with Mr. Voss. I think it was a real estate podcast or something. Barbara says the name of the book is Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. Hopefully he'll give me an affiliate commission for shouting out to him. I don't know. I don't have an affiliate. I don't have any kind of business relationship with Chris, but tremendous respect for the man. For those of you who don't know, Mr. Voss was, or I don't know, maybe it's Dr. Voss. He was the lead hostage negotiator for the FBI. Right. So when it comes to all kinds of crazy stuff, with terrorists and things like that, he's the guy, right? So my tech guy is on the phone. Are you guys being able to hear me okay? Okay, because usually when I'm getting when I start getting calls from Brandon, there's something going on the back end that I need to know about. But maybe he'll text me and I'll see what that's about. Anyway, during this podcast, video's choppy? Okay. Not sure what's going on there, but I don't want to be distracted. Audio's good, video's bad. All right. I'm not sure what to do about that. Anyway, but you guys can hear me okay, yes? All right. All right. So let me finish the Chris Voss story, or I can do it after intermission, right? All right. So let me close this out just in case. So during this podcast, Chris Voss I heard him says, when the hostage negotiator approaches his counterpart, the hostage taker, in a fun, easygoing, playful, explorational, curiosity-driven kind of way, the negotiator himself is up to 31% more perceptive. He thinks faster. He thinks more creatively. He's more aware of things going around, and he's more charismatic, for lack of a better word. And why do I say that? Because they also discovered that when the negotiator approached the bad guy, remember, this guy's going to go to jail if he doesn't get what he wants, right? He has no interest in complying necessarily with the negotiator, right? But when the negotiator themselves approaches the other person in a curiosity-driven, playful, relaxed, explorational way, the bad guy is up to 31% more compliant. Now think about that. What if for every 10 people you asked to do something for you, 30% or better of them said yes more often? If you got to 31% more yeses on your sales calls, would that change your life? If you got 31% more yeses when you went up to your significant other and asked for a little special attention, would that change your life or quality of life? Right? If you went to your kids and they actually got them to take out the trash up to 30% or more times, would that be helpful? Ladies and gentlemen, you can do it right now. All you got to do is be playful at will, to be filled with pleasure and joy at will, on demand. That's all you got to do. So not only will you be 31% better at everything, the people around you will be up to 31% more compliant to you without doing anything else. And you will learn up to 31% faster. Maybe more, because 12 into 10,000 is a little more than 30%, right? That's your first hack. And it goes back to the very first principle that I taught you on tonight's webinar. What was that principle? Type it in the chat. What was the principle? Come on, I know you guys know this. I said it 3 times. People don't make decisions based on logic. That's half of it. How a person feels. We're getting there. There we go, Barb. Everything is in response to a feeling. Where does it start? It starts with you. People move through the world. They say, I want to be more confident. I want to be more charismatic. I want to be more comfortable. More often than not, when someone says, I want to be more confident, what they're really saying is, I want to stop being afraid. You want to see someone who's charismatic? Look at somebody who's comfortable in their own skin, anywhere they go. Right? Now, I'm not talking about beauty. Okay? I'm talking about charisma. Can beauty have charisma? Yes, of course it can. But there's something else that goes to charisma, isn't there? When we look at people, there's a presence. There's a presentness about them, right? Because wherever they go, whatever they're doing, they're not freaking out. They're comfortable everywhere they go. They're comfortable and confident in every single interaction that they have, whether it's one-on-one or hundreds of people. Body feelings. Body feelings, okay? If you want to be charismatic, you must learn to control your body and your body feelings, okay? This leads us to the very first practice in the persuasion systems that I teach, and that is called state control. So I'm going to show you an image now, and I'm going to explain it to you. So give me a minute. Okay, well, that sucks. Somehow, some way, somebody turned off my recorder. Let's try that again. All right. Hold on a second. And I think we'll go with this one. I'm going to move my image up a little bit here. I'm going to cover the image a little bit, but I'm going to be up in the upper left-hand corner. All right. Where are you at? Okay. So what I'm showing you here, let me actually go to the view section. I was rushing around a little bit, so I got some of this not quite set up the way I want it to be. There we go. Here we go. All right, what you're seeing here is known as the Universal Persuasion Protocol. It is the primary persuasion algorithm or formula or recipe that we use in all the influence systems that I teach. Okay? I'm going to go ahead. We're going to walk through it real quick, and then I'm going to jump into applications or techniques for you guys. So the first thing is you got to know your outcome. Let me move this. As an influencer and a persuader, we have to think differently than the average human being. Most human beings, when they seek to communicate, are doing it for one of two reasons, primarily, and they're not mutually exclusive. The first one is people communicate to share information, to pass information from one person to the next, right? Rhetorical conversations and lectures and things like that. They speak to convey information. That's 50% or better of most of the conversations that we have. Makes sense, right? The other side of that coin is we communicate to share an experience. So if I'm giving a lecture and I'm teaching you about persuasion and influence, and I'm telling you all the Chris Voss data and everything human beings do is in response to a feeling, and it's a feeling they want more of and a feeling they want less, I'm speaking to you to convey information. And there is an experience that goes along with it, but my primary purpose in that mode of speech is to convey the information. If I start talking about how I used this protocol to get some 100 plus people to line up behind me so I could be first in line to basically get my pick of clinical hours while I was in medical school, that's me sharing an experience with you. Okay, so do we understand the two primary ways, or that most people, there's a third one, the two primary ways or reasons we communicate? A, to pass on information, and B, to share an experience. Okay. As influencers, as people who are moving through the world from a position of power, comfort, confidence, authority, and ethics, we have a slightly more advanced objective or agenda in our communication. What is that? Our agenda in a communication is to create a result. That result being a change in behavior or experience or feelings or beliefs, right? So our world is to, again, we can convey information, we can create an experience, but our higher agenda is to do that in order to facilitate the subject or subjects taking the action we want them to take in as close to the way we want them to take it as possible. Does that make sense? Right? So when you start thinking like an influencer, you have to begin with the end result in mind. You have to say, okay, what do I want this person to do? How will I know when they've done that or when I've got the result I'm looking for? Notice that if you look at the chart here, right? Step 0 is know your outcome. And it's control your state, get rapport, use your language, manage the state of the subjects, jump into whatever processes they use, and bond to their values, right? We'll talk then. We have a new word, we have a new term for this. It's called emotional bonding. Okay. So I'm moving us away as a community. I'm moving us away from a lot of the NLP jargon because it's just not helpful and it actually creates more confusion. And this is, again, when I was talking about the 4 things we're going to cover in this webinar, this was step 2. This was the second thing. The trigger that causes everybody to move is their emotionally held value system. And if you can trigger their values positively or negatively, they will respond in very powerful, very predictable ways. But in order to stimulate their emotional drives and values, you can't convey just information. You can't just give them an experience. You must combine them in a very specific way with very specific other ingredients. And when you mix them properly, a little button, a little switch gets flipped inside of every human being that you do this with, and they become absolutely driven to pursue their deepest emotional needs and desires. And they look at you as the source of that fulfillment. Now, think about what I just said. When you take the information, the experience, you mix them with certain other ingredients, and you give it to the subject, the client, the prospect, they become emotionally driven to pursue fulfillment of that emotional need, and they view you as the source of that emotional fulfillment. Think about the ramifications of that for just a moment. And think about all the times in your life when there was something that you wanted so badly. And every time you had that experience of it, it was the best thing ever. And you found yourself just moving through the world looking to have that experience again. What was that like for you? What was that like? Because when you stimulate this level of need and drive in a person, their logic goes right out the window. Their rationalization factor goes on overdrive to justify actually pursuing what you're offering them. Right? So it's extremely, extremely powerful. And the best part about this whole process is that it's never necessary, ever, to lie, cheat, manipulate, deceive, or do anything that makes a person feel like they're being lied to. This is one of the most powerful win-win processes I've ever come across. So, but you can't begin to do that. You can't start that process until you know exactly what it is you want and how you know you're getting it. You have to have a way to measure the goal. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it, right? So I'm going to say this 3 or 4 times. This is what we call the universal persuasion protocol. This is the primary persuasion engine in everything I teach and everything I do. And there is no system on the planet, and I say that categorically. There is no system on the planet that has beaten it yet. It is the fastest, easiest, most linear, safest, ethical way to influence people to do just about anything you want, anytime you want, under any situation or circumstance. Okay? It is the primary engine of persuasion. It's the only one we needed to teach for over almost 20 years. I started teaching other things because I got kind of bored and I wanted to explore other things, but this is what it all goes back to. So, A, know your outcome. Control your state. Get rapport. Use your language. Manage the state of the subject. Jump into their process. And bond to their emotional needs. Bond to their emotional needs. Those are also known as values. Okay? Values. I'm going to say it 2 more times, just in case. If you need to take a screenshot, you have my permission, go right ahead. Right? There's so much information packed in this one diagram. I could spend the entire webinar just talking about this. Right? Know your outcome. Control your state. Get rapport. Use your language, manage the state of the subject, jump into their process, bond to their emotional needs, aka their values, right? The word values is probably the single most important word that we're going to be working with, okay? Values, like many other things, are basically beliefs. But your values specifically, let me jump out of this. All right, is everybody clear on this? Everybody clear on this? They got it? Denise says she does not see the screen. Okay, my other screen shows that I'm sharing. It's clear enough? Okay. Again, for those of you who want to learn the entire system, at the end of in about 20, 30 minutes, I'm going to show you how to get access to all of this and a whole lot more. But this is not the big piece. This is just kind of this is the big piece, right? This is the whole shebang, the whole enchilada right here. When you got this, there is nothing you can't influence. There is nothing you can't move to your corner, right? And that's a very bold statement. I realize I'm making claims on this webinar, right? Prove me wrong. For those of you, any veterans out there, any people who have had the CPI model training or the killer influence training that have been using this, want to pipe in on the chat. If you've used this material before, go ahead and type it works in the chat. Okay. All right, let me jump out of this. Pamela says it works. Excellent. Thank you, Pamela. All right. So let me just make sure that I'm centered. I'm very finicky about my camera position, just so you guys know. I don't like not being centered in the shot. I'm not anal about a lot of things, but it bothers me when I'm a little too, oops. There we go. All right. My OCD has died down now. All right. So control your state, get rapport, use your language, manage the state of the subject, jump into their process, bond to their emotional needs and values. Okay. I'm going to talk just briefly about values. And then we're going to jump right into level 1 of the CPI model, which is where we need to start. Period, end of story. Period, end of story. Okay. Values are beliefs. Let me say that 2 more times. Values are beliefs. What kind of beliefs are they? They're beliefs about the way the world is supposed to be based on that person's interpretation or model of the world. In NLP, we say every human being doesn't live in reality as we understand it. They live in a created hologram, a map of how the world is supposed to be. A person's values define what constitutes the best, most ideal anything that they can conceive of. Even things they haven't conceived of, the moment you name it and describe it, their neurology, your neurology, will create a value system for it, a set of rules by which the body and the brain decides that that's the optimal thing. Think of it like this. Think of it like a checklist. You guys know what a checklist is? Right? How many people ever heard the phrase, oh, he checks all the boxes, or she checks all the boxes? Right? Anybody ever hear that phrases like that? Right? What does that mean? That means that I have a list in my head or in my heart, or maybe a little lower, that I'm looking to satisfy. And when I see somebody, my neurology starts checking boxes. And to the degree that all those boxes get checked, I become more and more attracted in whatever context that I'm seeing. Human beings do this everywhere. Everywhere. If you have the eyes to see and the ears to hear and the mouth to ask, you can get anybody you want to give you their checklist without them even realizing you're doing it. Without them even realizing you're doing it. Now, that's a little bit of a higher level tool. than people just coming into the persuasion world. And I don't want to insult anybody, but I have to assume that everybody in here, if you've been in Planet David 20 minutes or 20 years, right? I have to assume that everybody knows almost nothing about what we do and how we do it and the words we use to describe it, just to make sure that everybody has a level playing field. So if you've heard some of these things that I'm saying before, or you're like, get to the point, David, remember that there's other people who are hearing this for the first time. And this is for them, right? We have much more advanced, much higher level, more advanced hidden stuff on the other side of this. But we have to make sure that you come away from our community with things you can actually perform and do. Which brings us to a loop I'm going to close for you right now. I told you earlier in the webinar that there's two things that you need to understand to be able to do this stuff anytime, anywhere, under any circumstance, for any reason. A, you need to do every process that I teach you at least 3 times. At least 3 times. 3 times as the subject, 3 times as the receiver, the client, the subject, the patient, whatever word you use to describe the person who's going to receive your techniques. 3 is the magic number if, only if, you actually want to be able to do this out there, out in the real world. If you just want to collect information and know about something, 1 repetition will do it. You'll still lose it. 25, 30, 40, 50% of it, maybe more, because you don't practice it. But if you want something at a functional level for you, then you must practice it no less than 3 times in as close together a sequence as possible. That creates a very powerful template in your nervous system that allows you out in the real world to actually recall the information because you were more plastic when you created it. It allows you to take information that you acquired in one context or one environment and recall it in a different environment, right? How many of you have ever walked into a room to get something, walked through the doorway, and forgot why you were in that goddamn room? Anybody ever have that experience? Right? So what do? You walk into the other room, it comes back. You walk through again, it's gone again. Right? Pamela says all the time. Roscoe says yes. Carlton says I have. That's called the boundary effect. The boundary effect. You know why? Because your neurology categorizes information by environment. It categorizes identity by context and environment. If I'm learning something and I'm thinking about something in one room and I change rooms, well, my environment's changed. Therefore, that information that was connected to that environment, file closed. Right? And you ever notice the more you try to recall it, the harder it keeps eluding you until you just give up? And then poof, it pops in there, right? That's your unconscious mind fucking with you. Right? We call that the law of unconscious response, by the way. Law of unconscious response tells us that the more we try to make the unconscious mind do something consciously, the more we get either zero effect or the opposite effect. Does that make sense to anybody? You guys understand that, what I'm saying? How many people have ever had trouble sleeping? Okay. How many people have ever tried to will themselves to go to sleep? How'd that work out? Sleep, damn it. Exactly. Why? Law of unconscious response. The conscious mind, the will center, doesn't influence the unconscious. Only the imagination does. Only the emotions. Well, the unconscious mind generates the emotions. If you want to influence the subconscious mind, you must use the imagination. Mm-hmm. And again, using mantras and deep breathing, that helps because it integrates the unconscious with the autonomic nervous system, and it integrates the systems. That's why it works. If you were to try to do mantras while you're cycling, that would be a weird thing, but it would give you a different effect. Okay. 99% of everything we do is about integrating all the different divisions of the nervous system. All you really need to do, my friends, to get anybody you want to do anything you want is find out what they most need and want and desire at a deep emotional value level and bond it to what you want them to do. And just keep repeating it until their nervous system grabs a hold of that message, flips a switch called a convincer strategy, and they just say, okay, let's do that. Now, that's a very simplistic way of explaining emotional bonding. But honestly, that's how it works. That's how it works, right? Now, people are asking, how do we do this for ourselves? I'm going to actually teach you how to do that. That's one of the first things we're going to do. But we're going to go into the final thing you need to do to functionalize this. As we're going through tonight, the content of tonight's webinar, there will be things that you say, oh, that is so cool, I'm going to do that. Anything that has a high coolness factor, focus on doing just those things. Okay. When you come to Killer Influence and you sit in the room with me for 5 straight days, right? The first thing out of my mouth is there's a 200+ page manual in front of you with nothing but bullet points in it. You are forbidden to read it during class. You can read it at night in your office or in your hotel room, but you can't read it during class. And then I'll say to you, the fastest way to learn none of this information is to try to learn all of it. The fastest way to learn none of this information is to try to learn all. Some of you are out there right now doing shorthand at lightning speed, trying to capture every word, every nuance of what I'm saying, because you don't want to miss it, right? Even though you know there's a replay. I get that. But here's the secret to being good at persuasion and influence. A, you only need a few things. You only need to do a few things well to be really, really powerful. You only need a few things, right? I'm going to give you a few things tonight. There's a lot more. There's a whole system. But we're going to get you started. And then I'll show you where to go to get more. Okay. The first thing is focus on the things that come easy to you. Focus on the things that are easy and fun and simple for you to do. Why? Because if it's not fun, you won't do it. If it's not easy, you won't do it. If it's not simple, you won't do it. If it doesn't work for you, you won't do it. Persuasion and influence skills only work if you actually use them. And that's why I ask, because there's a difference, but there's people who want to know about things, and there's people who want to know how to do things or be able to do things. And it's okay to be the about kind of a person, but understand that about people never get anywhere. They have these experiences of learning and acquiring information, but they can't actually make any changes out in the world because they don't do. My content, my channel has always been targeted towards the people who want to get out there and actually make change happen, to move their life forward, to move other people's lives forward, right? And so I'm teaching you how to make what we're doing functional. In persuasion and influence training, it's not about how much you know. It's about what you can do with the tools you have. It's about what you can do with the tools that you have. I can move through the world, use 3 language patterns, and own every interaction. Okay? Why? Because I know how to use those language patterns in every conceivable way. That's what I've dedicated my life to unlocking this stuff, right? You can do it too, right? But the things that move the needle for you may not be the same things that move the needle for the person next to you. For example, we're going to be talking about state control and echo technique in a few moments, right? Some people look at the echo technique. My friend James, God rest his soul, right? When we came up together and we both studied with Richard together off and on. And when I realized how powerful the echo technique was and it became canon in Planet David, he hated this technique. And every time I taught it, he would be making this face like he smelled something bad. And I pulled him aside one day. I said, dude, why do you hate this technique so much? And he looked at me and he said, it's too simple. It works too well. It's too simple. And I was like, But you see, there's people out there who are in love with sophistication. They're in love with complexity. And they consider things that are sophisticated and complex to be advanced. That's part of their working definition for an advanced technology, right? But correct me if I'm wrong, but shouldn't advanced technologies, shouldn't they make your life easier? Shouldn't they make you have to work less hard? Shouldn't they be more universal? Shouldn't they be things that can be applied in any situation or circumstance? Wouldn't that make something more advanced? What do you think? Type it in the chat, because give me a reality check. I had no idea I was going to talk about this, by the way, right? Right. Here's a myth I want to dispel for you. Never assume that because something is simple, that it's not powerful. 2 more times. Never, ever, ever assume that because something is simple, that it's not powerful. As you delve deeper and deeper and deeper into this study, and it's a study, it's a martial art for me, you're going to find out over and over and over again that the most powerful things are the simplest. The most universal, dynamic, unstoppable principles are the most fundamental. And there will be people out there who will try to teach you these super complicated, super advanced, 200-page book level on information. Like, remember, just because something's long, sophisticated, complicated, doesn't make it more powerful. It usually makes it a lot more specific and context dependent. My goal has always been, I want the Swiss Army knife of influence and persuasion. I want a set of tools that anywhere I go, anytime I need to, under any situation or any circumstance, I can whip these tools out and get my job done. And that's what I'm giving you today. So the first thing has to be, you must decontextualize your skill set. What does that mean? If you're learning content with me tonight on this webinar and you're applying the 3x3 method, then you must practice it 3 or 4 times with another human being in your house or over Zoom before you do anything else. Once you've done that 3 times as the practitioner, 3 times as the receiver, now you go out to Starbucks or the park or the bookstore or any place where human beings come together in their natural habitat, and you play with it out there. And you only do parts of it, but you do parts of it with bunches of different people and calibrate the responses that you're getting. So the first homework assignment, for lack of a better word, is going to be state control work. We're going to go into that in just a minute. The next thing is going to be echo technique. I'm going to give you the assignment to go out into the world and just echo people's words to them and watch their response. Okay. I'm going to give you a body language cluster that I want you to start applying with people. And you'll know in the first 10 seconds or less if that person's really open to your influence or you got to work for it. Would that be helpful? Would that be useful? Go ahead. Okay. So let's talk about state control. For every psycho-emotional state that you can think of, that you can experience, there is a corresponding posture and breathing pattern that allows that emotion to be felt. Okay? If you want to be 31% more charismatic, more persuasive, more influential, all you have to do is feel good. generate pleasure or pleasurable emotions in your body and maintain those feelings as you're interacting with people. Okay. Now, how do we do that? Well, I'm glad you asked. Now, in our live trainings, we devote a whole day and a half, depending on whether it's a 5-day or a 3-day. We devote a whole day to a day and a half on just state control training. Because if there is a Jedi skill, Brian, I'm glad Brian asked, how do we do that? We're about to do it. We're about to do an exercise. I've got like 30 exercises that we teach in Killer Influence and Secrets of Human Influence and CPI, because this is the most important piece of the entire puzzle. I have students of mine who are personal injury attorneys who have raped Fortune 100 companies over the coals in the presence of hostile judges, winning jury selection and all these other different situations and circumstances based on just this thing I'm about to tell you, the ability to control your state. If you can control your state, then everything in your environment becomes able to be influenced by you. Okay. Now, remember I said that everything human being. So Papa Bear says that's what he is literally teaching you. Nobody knew it never was possible until this guy in real life. Okay, cool. There's all kinds of cool things that I'm being distracted by. Forgive me. I told you at the beginning of the webinar, everything human beings do is in response to fill it in the blank, type it in the chat. What's it? Everything human beings do is in response to a what? A feeling. Excellent. It's a feeling they either want more of or less of, right? Here's the second part to that. The fastest way to change another human being's body feelings, the fastest, most reliable way to change another human being's feelings is to change yours first. The fastest way to change another person's body feelings is to change yours first. How many people have ever been in a room? Maybe you're blah, maybe a little depressed, and one of your buddies walks in a good mood, and all of a sudden you feel better. Ever happen? Maybe you've had the inverse come in. You're having a great day. Things are good, and all of a sudden your buddy walks in and their dog died. Right? When their feelings hit, what happens to you? Right? This is the most powerful, consistent, invisible way to influence people. There is no way for another human being to catch you consciously using state control. It's completely transparent, and yet it influences everything. Okay? Now, the side effect, the byproduct of this training, is that as you learn how to control your state, now we separate, and you'll learn this in Killer Influence, you'll learn this in CPI and some of the other trainings that we're doing. We separate the ability to control, we define state control as the ability to enter or exit any emotional state at will, on demand, in any situation or circumstance. In other words, I'm in a situation or circumstance where everybody's losing their shit, their energy's impacting me. I decide that I'm going to bring order out of chaos. I shift my posture, I shift my breathing, and I become the master and commander. I become someone who radiates certainty, comfort, and capability, and all of a sudden everybody calms down and follows my lead. I'm in a situation or circumstance where everybody's serious and nobody wants to break the ice, and I step into my rock star meta frame. All of a sudden I'm the life of the party, and I'm laughing, and everybody's trying to be part of my entourage and things of that nature. I flip a switch, and people's feelings change because mine changed, and my change creates a change in them. How many people here ever heard of this person named Marilyn Monroe? Brian says metaframes, yes, right? So you guys know that her real name was Norma Jean, right? But what you don't know is that Norma Jean and Marilyn were two sides of the same person, but they weren't always on at the same time. Norma Jean could ride the subway in New York, and nobody would pay the slightest bit of attention to her. If she flipped the Marilyn switch, she would get mobbed. I know this because there was a book called, I believe it's called The Charisma Switch. I think it's called The Charisma Switch, where they talk about this story where Marilyn is riding the subway with a friend or a makeup artist or a photographer or something, and they're just standing on the subway talking, and nobody's paying the slightest bit of attention to Marilyn. And her friend's looking around waiting for the mobbing to start and all the autographs and the flashball, and nothing's happening. Nobody's paying attention to any of them. And she pulls her aside and said, I thought you'd be mobbed by now. And she looked at her and says, well, that's because Marilyn's not here. She's like, what? She said, do you want to see Marilyn? And they step out onto the platform. She flips her switch, does this little hair thing or whatever, and all of a sudden, boom, they had to call security to escort them out of the subway. Right? Right? You can do this. It's built into you. It's just no one ever taught you how to unlock it. So here's the first thing. For every psycho-emotional state a person can experience, there is a corresponding physiology, a posture, and a breathing pattern that allows that state to manifest. Okay? That allows that state to manifest. Right? So, I'm a little behind schedule, so I'm going to have to speed things up. So we're going to do a quick exercise just to show you how powerful this is. All right, so this exercise is going to involve you closing your eyes. So if you're driving, don't do this. Okay? This will alter your state as it alters your body feeling. So I want you to be very, very clear on you're not operating anything that requires your full and undivided attention, any heavy equipment. I want you to be safe, right? There will be a replay. Okay? There will be a replay. So please, 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 please don't do this drill while operating machinery or anything that requires your full and undivided attention. For those of you who do want to practice this and are operating, then I recommend that you pull off to the parking lot, the side of the road, your driveway, put the car in park, turn off the ignition, put on the parking brake, make sure you won't be disturbed. But you're probably going to want to stand for this just because it just seems to work. I like being rooted when we do this. So I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to stop for a moment, and I want you to think of a time in your life when you felt the best pleasure ever. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, it was like a 47. And from that moment on, after that amazing first experience, anytime you had a chance to go for it, you did. I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to remember how you were standing or sitting in that moment, and sit that way. I want you to remember how you were breathing in that moment. Breathe that way. I want you to remember what you were seeing. Remember what you were hearing. What were you smelling? What were you tasting? Because when you do that, when you're in that place and you see what you see and you hear what you hear and you smell and you taste what you smell and you taste, there's an amazing, wonderful feeling that you get. Feeling of absolute joy or pleasure or whatever other emotion or feeling you want to have. And I'd like you to notice something. I'd like you to become aware that there's a place in your body where those amazing, wonderful, powerful feelings start, where they grow, where they spread from. Take a moment, notice where you feel that, and point to it. Just point to it. And look at it with your inner eyes and notice that there's a color, maybe even a series of colors connected to those amazing feelings. What color or colors might that be for you, first impression? Whatever it is, I'd like you to imagine a beautiful ball of that energy floating above your head. Notice how the feelings in your body shift and change as with every breath you take and every beat of your heart, that amazing ball of energy begins to grow, begins to expand, begins to fill the entire room from floor to ceiling, from wall to wall, and all points in between. Notice how it wraps itself around you like an amazing blanket of pleasure. A cocoon, a shield, a suit of armor, insulating you, protecting you from all bummers, all downers, all discomforts, real or imagined, while at the same time flooding your mind, flooding your body, flooding your spirit with everything it most wants, everything it most needs in an infinite, ever expanding and unlimited supply. And when you know you've got that, breathe those amazing colors through your entire being. Let it fill you up like water fills up a bottle, like fluid fills up a test tube, like hot air or helium fills up a balloon. Anchor it in so fully, so completely, no force in the universe can turn it off, take it away, not even you. And when you realize it's true, test it. Try to turn it off. Try to take it away. And notice what happens instead. Allow yourself to stand the way you were standing, to breathe the way you were breathing. And when you know you've got it, allow your eyes to open. Notice how different you feel. Type in the chat what you experienced. Papa Bear says energy centers. Louise says, damn it, I'm driving. Lori says, wow, complete bliss. Very good. Roscoe says comfort. Brent says vibrating. Perfect. Now, Belle says activated positive brain hormones. You sure did. Pamela says more at ease. Now, just for fun, close your eyes. Imagine that energy float, that energy ball above your head. Body's buzzing. Expand it to fill the room. Wrap it around you with your imagination. And then move it up and down like an elevator through your entire being. Daisy says she feels like she's herself. That means she's comfortable in her own skin. And vibrate the energy up and down your body and notice what happens to it. Notice what happens to the feelings in your body as you move that colored ball of energy up and down faster and faster. Barbara says, wow. So what just happened? Give me a report. Tell me what's happening. Barbara says, feeling stronger. Carlton says, positive energetic flow expands, feeling more. Wow. Now think about this. That took what, 2 minutes? What do you think you could do with that if you practice it for 10 to 15, 20 minutes a day forever? You just created new synapses. Will the color always be the same? Great question, Barbara. Many times the color will change, but the feelings won't. What will happen is your nervous system is always assigning meanings to things, and it does it metaphorically. So a lot of times the feeling of joy and pleasure right now, let's say, for example, yours is electric blue, right? And you go to do the same feeling a week from now, and it's fuchsia, electric fuchsia, or vibrant purple, or something. It's your neurology will assign different colors based on the environment and other things. But as long as it's giving you the effect that you want, then it's good. Papa says we are the Holy Grail. In many ways, you are. right? The secret is knowing how to use the combination of your imagination, your memory, your somatic nervous system, your autonomic nervous system, and your hormonal systems to create that particular set of substances in your body, both electrical and chemical, that puts you in a certain state on demand. And that's what we just did. If you can name it, describe it, and imagine it, you can create it, right? Everything that we imagine generates a set of bodily experiences. And we can take that bodily experience and use it to transform, to persuade, to influence, to become more charismatic. Lori says, heart you, David. Love you, David. Thank you. I love you guys back, right? Again, this is again, just like our change work is so fast and effective, our influence is just as fast, just as effective, and just as bulletproof because it comes from the same place. It comes from the same place. But it starts with you. Learning how to now, the side effect of this is no one will ever be able to push your buttons ever again as a byproduct of this training. You'll become so powerful and able to go into any state you want on demand, anywhere, under any circumstance. In fact, your states will become so strong, nobody will be able to break them. And even if they take you by surprise, you'll be able to shift state on a dime. Right? For those of you who want charisma, who want to feel less fearful, who want to be more comfortable in your own skin, who want to move through the world healing themselves, the deliberate practice of feeling these kinds of feelings is very healing to the body. Okay? Again, if this is the scope of everything there is to talk about, I got time for this. Was this powerful? Was this good for you? Type in the chat. Perfect. Here's the secret. A lot of times people move through the world not knowing if they're going to say the right thing or do the right thing. It doesn't really matter what you say. It depends on how you're feeling when you say it. So if you are speaking from this energy that we just cultivated, everything you say is going to have more power, more impact, and move the person in the direction you want them to go because everything is congruent and in alignment. Because you're working from the spinal cord up, not the neocortex down. Now, again, I don't want to distract you. Would you guys like to know how to get access to the rest of the system? This means yes. This means no. Type yes in the chat. Okay, then let's do that. And then on part 3 of the webinar, we'll come back and we'll teach you more stuff. Somebody need to be muted. Okay, that was weird. All right, so without further ado, I present for your education purposes. I'm gonna change to content only. The Secrets of Human Influence, Ultra Persuasion Mastery, Hypnotic Influence Mastery Home Study Course. This is a program that I've put together designed to help you take your life to the next level. It's all about self-mastery and inner game. It's about erasing fear and hesitation and doubt from your life and replacing it with a sense of unshakable certainty, calmness, and charisma. It's about moving through the world, being able to command attention instantly, effortlessly, and automatically. It's about allowing you to get more yeses in your life, how to talk in ways that the nervous system must respond in predictable, positive ways. Okay? It's about, you can use these these methods and these patterns to heal people, to influence socially. And when I say socially, I mean everything from, a meeting down at the Elks Lodge, friends hanging out at the pizza place or Starbucks, the video game parlor, all the way up to social media, where you're giving people. Oh, what is going on? Hold on a second. We have some issues with people not muting and apparently multitasking. All right. So, use words that make, we're going to teach you how to use words that make people feel agreement with you. We're going to teach you how to tap into that emotional value center, right? We're going to neutralize difficult people. We're going to show you how to spot them and how to remove them from your life, or just massage them in ways, not massage them in a weird way, but massage the interactions so that you get your outcome and these people the impact of them is minimized in your life. We're going to teach you how to inspire action without resistance. And when you encounter resistance, I'm going to teach you in no uncertain terms exactly how to get those people who said no to you to say yes. Okay. We're going to teach you how to use this in sales, in business, in professional work. Like if you're a negotiator, if you're a mediator, if you're a coach, you're a therapist, you're a hypnotist, you're a body worker. I have body workers all over the world who are using these exact influence skills, to book more clients, but also delivering powerful hypnotic commands while they're doing the body work to amplify the healing outcomes. There's no place where these skills will not multiply the effectiveness of whatever application you're engaged in. You're going to close more deals. You're going to ace more interviews, more performance reviews. You're going to find people just doing what you say as a byproduct of just applying what you're learning. You're going to be able to activate mental triggers that cause people to behave in very, very specific, very, very predictable ways. And you'll be able to know what to do when they go off script, so to speak. Right. So this offer is good until November 25th, 2025 at 11:59 p.m. It's going to include 17 videos on the 7-stage universal persuasion protocol. How to define your outcomes, information versus experience versus outcome and transformation. It's going to teach you how to think like a master influencer, right? How to control your own body states so that nobody can control your state against your will. And if people take you by surprise, you can bounce back. But we'll go even one step further than that. We're actually going to teach you how to take the state that you've built. Stop for a moment. That state you guys just had with me right now, that pleasure state, right? What if you could actually make somebody else feel that way without them realizing you were the one doing it? What if you could literally cause their body to generate its own pleasure response that you initiated in yourself? That's what power rapport skills is for. Not only do we teach you how to control your state for the purpose of seeing the world and becoming a certain kind of person, you're going to learn how to leverage that emotional energy through rapport to influence the autonomic nervous system, the proprioceptive nervous system, and the mirror neuron and heart systems of other human beings. And those inputs from your nervous system will transform their internal experiences. Now, because their internal experience is what's changing, they'll think they did it. This is all a byproduct of state control. It has nothing to do with language. So it's impossible to actually get caught doing this. This is why when we spend so much time on state control training in all of our classes, and why you'll never see the state control drills that we teach on a public video. They're proprietary. This is one of the reasons our system is so powerful everywhere, right? Because it makes you more powerful as a human being, not just as an influencer. Okay? We're going to teach you the 7 most irresistible hypnotic language patterns that are so powerful that you cannot use them without changing the way people perceive reality. They're so powerful that you can't use them on yourself without your entire internal experience shifting. With these 7 patterns, you're going to have the ability to literally cause a person's attention to fixate on whatever you want and ignore everything else. You'll have the ability to make a person's brain run a program that you described automatically, whether the conscious mind wants to do it or not. You'll be able to make anything you want, cause anything you want in the minds of the people listening to you, even if those things have absolutely nothing in common. You'll be able to make anything you want mean anything you want in the subjects, even if the things you're connecting have nothing to do with each other. Because when you use these patterns, the nervous system behaves in very predictable, automatic ways. And then it just gets more powerful. Okay? We're going to teach you how to manage the emotional states of other people. When you meet somebody, the first thing you're going to do after you've controlled your state and gotten rapport is you're going to observe the other person, you're going to profile them, and you're going to make a diagnosis, for lack of a better word. It's not really a diagnosis in a medical sense, but a profile. You're going to say, okay, this is the state this person is in. This is the person, this is the state I need them to be in. So they're willing to do these behaviors or take these actions. So who do I need to be? And what do I need to say and do and behave to make this person go into the state I want them in? So they'll do that. That's called state management. The only person who has pure control over a state is the person themselves, but other people we manage. And you'll find that this is easily one of the most powerful Jedi ninja skills that's out there. But it's also the one that's taught the least, because there's people out there that are selling you books this thick of information. And then there's other people who have books that are much thinner, but it's all rehashed stuff. And they're teaching you the language, specific language patterns. They're teaching you like cognitive dissonance or confusion patterns or more complicated persuasion algorithms. But what the people who buy those books don't realize is that there's one fundamental skill that makes all of those things work besides state control. And that is state management. In other words, pattern weaving. How do you link all of these different processes together in a conversational, organic, seamless way that doesn't overwhelm you and doesn't sound weird, creepy, or confusing? That's why the CPI system is head and shoulders above every other system out there. Don't believe me, test it. Okay? I'm going to teach you how to hijack a person's own internal behavior code. Each and every person has a set of brain regions that they trigger to do a certain behavior. Those brain regions come out in your language. If you know what to listen for, you can know exactly what to say, how to say it, to fire that exact same code in their brain, and they will do the same behavior you want based on the code. It's very simple, it's very easy, and if you understand the echo technique, it's super doable. This is one of the reasons why, this is one of the more secret reasons why we're going to teach you the echo technique first. Because learning and mastering the echo technique allows you to do all the advanced stuff super fast, super easy. Because all the advanced stuff in NLP is based on the ability to recall and analyze the things a person said. If you can't recall what somebody said, you can't analyze it. If you can't analyze it, you can't manage it. So the echo technique, aside from being the most powerful, simple, cross-contextual influence tool on the planet, is also the one that makes you good at everything else. It's the one that makes you good at everything else. We're going to teach you how to emotionally bond to anyone's deepest desires to get them to want to do what you want them to do in an ethical way that makes you feel good about what you're doing and makes that person actually kind of love you for being such a great example of humanity. We're going to give you a 200 plus page manual of additional techniques, principles, and categories of influence that will allow you to expand your ability to influence people into any situation or circumstance. The total value on this is $2,497, but we've bundled a whole bunch of other extra bonuses with this program so that you have the biggest, most robust, most powerful toolkit on the planet. So if you grab your course today, and the links are already showing up in the channel, if you grab your course today, we're going to also include these special bonuses free of charge. The first one will be Weapons of Mass Instruction, Hypnotic Storytelling Secrets. The one area that really separates the vast majority of world-class influencers in any context, teaching, motivation, leadership, corporate management, is the ability to compel and influence and inspire and motivate people through stories. Stories are by far the most pervasive and powerful hypnotic engine that we have. There are others, but nothing is as all-inclusive and as universal as story work. I've spent the last 20 years researching not just how storytelling is done classically, how it's done in NLP, and how it's done in Ericksonian hypnosis, but also all the research on what neuroscience is saying about storytelling and narrative, how it works, what the building blocks of irresistible stories are, and the different categories of story that we can use for influence and persuasion. And I've bundled that into a course we call Weapons of Mass Instruction. And this course is perfect for anyone who needs to influence people in mass groups. Whether you're doing it as a way to get people to want to become a coaching client of yours, or whether you want to work with people who are not native English speakers. A lot of times, some of the influence tools that people use from NLP, like specific language patterns, like the adverb adjective presuppositions, or proxemic words, or spatial words. The grammar is different in words like in languages like French and Spanish, maybe Polish. I don't know Polish all that well. Slavic, the Chinese for sure, right? The grammar or the syntax of good languaging is different than many of the NLP based programs because it's based in English, right? So some of the techniques in NLP don't always translate perfectly into other languages. However, every culture on the planet tells stories. Every human being on the planet is programmed by evolution and culture to go into a profound trance state when even just the hint of a story about to be told happens. If I look at you and I say, that reminds me of a time when, your brain starts going into neural coupling mode. It starts going into brainwave entrainment mode with me because it opens up like a Christmas tree or like a box waiting to be filled because it's going into story mode. And then all kinds of amazingly cool things happen when you go into this story trance. We're going to show you how it works, why it works, the most powerful tools for triggering it. We're going to teach you stories for motivation and inspiration. We're going to teach you how to tell stories that connect and bond you to other people. We're going to teach you how to tell stories that remove resistance to persuasion and influence. And we're going to teach you how to use stories as a delivery mechanism for other covert influence tools that make the story even more powerful and are like little time release suggestions that prime people to behave in certain ways in certain circumstances. All that in this one course. And there's a whole lot more in there as well, but that's really that's what you're getting. If you're a therapist, a coach, a motivator, a mediator, storytelling is probably one of the single most important skills. If you're interested in dating and attraction applications, you must tell good stories, right? You must make memories. You must create stories, okay? Total value on this is $1,997. We're going to give it to you for free just because we want you to have the best training possible. So if you do the math, right, it's total value now is $4,494, but we're not done yet. We've got a couple other really cool bonuses for you. This one is called Renegade Reframing, and of all the tools I created after CPI and Killer Influence, I have to say that Renegade Reframing is probably the most fun. And the reason I say that is because once you master these basic tools, there is not a single belief on the planet that you can't change. There's not a single objection that people can give you that you can't overcome. There's not a single argument that you can't win. It's if you're getting into combat with, if people are gaslighting you or trying to manipulate you in some ways, you can actually use these patterns to protect yourself. It's not an application I talk about very often, but Renegade Reframing is literally 14 tools for just, pardon my French, mind fucking people into doing what you want. I use the word mind fuck in the context of protecting yourself, but literally it's all about conversational belief change. And when you take, like, here's one of the examples that we give. The first person you use this on is yourself. So one of the things we do in the class is we have you take out a legal pad and write down every limiting belief that you have. And then we teach you the patterns, and then you attack each of your limiting beliefs with each pattern as you learn it. So that for every limiting belief, you're going to hit it with 14 different belief change patterns. By the time you're done, not only do you not have any of those limiting beliefs left, you have so liberated and freed your mind that you can't go back to the old version of yourself. Then you can take that same skill, bring it into the treatment room. Take that same skill, bring it into the sales room. Take that same skill, bring it into the interrogation room or the interview room. right? There's no place where this skill is not going to defend you and protect you and give you more yeses in your life. Okay. It is super, super fun. We even include a card game with it. So you can actually play like the reframe game where somebody says something to you, throws a reframe card at you, and you have to use that pattern to change that belief or that objection. And you can have all kinds of fun with it. We include that with the course. It's a $1,997 value. We're going to give it to you for free just because, again, we want you to be unstoppable, right? You're our best advertisement, I guess is the best way to say it, right? Total value on this is $6,491. We're not done. Now, a lot of you, the fast are gonna who are coaches, therapists, mentors, things of that nature. A lot of you are going to be doing public speaking, and one of the most fascinating areas I have ever found in terms of influence is what I call mass influence or mass persuasion. If you've ever seen people like Tony Robbins, or who's another one that everybody would know? Oh, Evan Pagan, it's a good one. Lisa Sasevich, Robert Allen, Dr. Joe Dispenza, right? Have you ever seen those guys standing on stage and telling story after story and bringing up example after example? And then they say a magic word about an offer and half the room gets up and just stampedes to the back of the room to sign up for the next coaching event or the next training program or whatever. That's what this course is about. When you learn how to become a trainer for any of these people, there are two sets of skills that are in operation. There's the system that they teach the coaches, and then there's the system that each of the people training the coaches uses to recruit more coaches. This is the system behind the system. We'll actually walk you through how to hold a microphone, how to stand, where to stand on stage, how to do spatial anchoring, how to tell compelling stories, how to use confusion inductions from the stage. We'll deconstruct talks and transcripts of other A-list presenters like T. Harv Eker or Mark Victor Hansen. And we will show you where all of these hidden NLP techniques are in their programs and how they're using them on the audience to get people to rush to the back of the room and whip out their credit card and do all those things. Barbara's asking, does this work for videos as well as in person? Yes. There are some minor things that you have to change when you're doing video, and we talk about those. But by and large, most of the skill sets translate over. One of the things that you're going to talk, in this course that we'll talk about a lot is the strategic use of gestures. If you go to TEDx, the TEDx talks, and you look at the highest rated videos, the highest rated TEDx presenters have an average of over 230 to 240 hand gestures that they make when they're speaking. All of them, extreme amount of hand gestures, right? Just something simple like that. When you're doing video, those hand gestures need to be there. Those hand gestures create dynamic imagery and emphasis in the person, right? Now you have to do it in a way that doesn't make you look like a spaz, right? But again, it's all understanding how a person is seeing you, right? And then you can do spatial anchoring and all these other really cool things. But a lot of the skill sets are the same, okay? That was a little long, drawn out dissertation, but yes. Now, everything presupposes you have the 17 video course that we started with, which is the core secrets of human influence training, and then everything else you graft on as an extension or an expansion of that core system. This is a $1,997 value. We're going to give this to you absolutely free as part of your package. Total combined value on this is $8,488. And so let's just review what we've got for you, right? You've got the 17 video, 7-stage Universal Persuasion Protocol, the Secrets of Human Influence Home Study course, valued at $2,497. You've got the bonus Weapons of Mass Instruction, Hypnotic Storytelling Secrets, free bonus. You've got the Renegade Reframing, how to instantly overcome any objection or change any belief in seconds. You've got the Charisma and Conversion Hypnotic Presentation Skills for public speakers, recorded live. Total value on this is $8,488 if you were to try to buy them individually. And some of these I don't even think you can buy individually because we only sell them as part of the webinar package. So Papa's saying, teach, you think I can really become a trainer? Of course you can. I have a lot of people out there teaching, right? They're teaching their own systems, but they came through my training program. To answer Papa Bear's question, in 2020, at the HypnoThoughts Live Hypnosis Convention, 10 of my students, at least 8, probably 10 of my students were also given speaking roles at the convention, primarily because they trained with me, and they killed it, right? I've put out more people speaking than anybody else I know. So I want you out there. I want you doing these things, right? And I want you to have the best tools possible. But I also want you to know that there's a lot of people out there that are teaching you how to create an offer and how to do testimonials, and those things are important. But there's other things that are going on that they're not teaching. I want to teach you that other stuff, the stuff that they're hiding. Okay, and that's what charisma and conversion is really all about. Okay, so you're not going to have to pay $8,488. Why? I want you to have the best deal I can give you, right? I want you to succeed. What if we knocked it down to half price? Would that be a good deal? I mean, think about it, right? But we're not. What about $2,122? Would that be a really good? I think that's a hell of a deal, considering that just the core training alone is $2,497, sometimes as much as $3,650. But no. If you grab your course today for our Thanksgiving special, we're going to give it all to one low installment of just $797. All you got to do is click your link in the chat there. As you click that link, and if you want to, you can break that up into 3 easy installments of just $297, right? Barb says, done. Welcome aboard, Barbara. I can't wait to work with you. So just go to this link, www.nlppower.com. Click the link, go. Papa says, I'd love to work if possible. Yeah, well, you can do that. Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. Right. Click your links right now. Right. Moss and Mia and Brandon are standing by. Mia, why don't we go ahead and put the emails and the customer service line in the chat if people have questions. And I'm going to keep going because we're not done. Right. So go ahead and click your links. Right. Now, here's the best part. I kind of challenged you guys a little bit during the webinar. I says, prove me wrong. I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. Click your links right now, get your course, start doing the training, and apply it out in the real world, following the 3x3 protocol, having as much fun as humanly possible, focusing only on the things that you enjoy, that come easy for you. Test it for a full 60 days. If by day 59, you're not building stronger connections with other people, enhancing your comfort and confidence in any situation or circumstance, if you're not hearing yeses more, getting greater successes that are meaningful to you, if you're not experiencing greater sense of influence and control over the people in the environments around you, right? If you're not generating more attraction, getting more dates, right? Maybe you're moving up the corporate ladder. If you're not closing more sales, if you're not happy or if you're dissatisfied in any way with the results you're getting as a byproduct of this course, I will refund every dime that you've invested, and you can keep all the materials you've downloaded absolutely free. Why? Because I want you to succeed. I want this to work for you, and I'm going to put my money where my mouth. I know what this stuff can. I've under-described what I've been able to do with this stuff. I've under-described what my students have been able to do with this stuff. Okay, I want you to discover just how powerful this is. And so I'm going to challenge you. Click your link, get the course, test drive it for 60 days. By 59, if by day 59 you're not happy, let us know and we'll give you your money back. You risk nothing, right? But you have everything to gain. And I want you to gain it, right? So click this link, www.nlppower.com/go. Papa says, I think what you have is great. Matter of fact, you should charge more. Yes, I should, but I'm not going to. Not today, anyway. Maybe next time. But as of today, you got it. So grab your course right now, November 25th, 2025, before 11:59 p.m. and you get everything I've described. Now, Barb has already got this. She didn't know it, but because she clicked that link, she also gets these. For those of you who click the link right now, while I'm physically present on the webinar, we are going to give you these additional bonuses just for being one of the first people to take action. These are good for the next 21 people who have clicked that link. We're going to give you a 90-day trial membership to the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program and unlimited access to the entire, it's actually 15 years. It's 11, it says 11 on the video, but it's actually 15. October 10th was our 15th year anniversary that we've been running this program. It's going to teach you monthly how to go into and roll up your sleeves, do the drills, and get the skills. It's not a program that's going to give you a certificate. It's a program that's going to give you the hands-on training that you need to actually apply these things out in the real world. Remember, I told you at the beginning of the lecture, there's two things you needed to learn. You needed to find the things that were easy. You needed to do it 3 times. Then you needed to get, Joseph says he's in. Awesome. Thank you, Joseph. Can't wait to work with you. The other thing you need a place to practice. You need people to practice with. And that is exactly what the Mastermind Mentoring Program is all about. You come in on the 3rd Saturday of every month. I go, Barb, what do you want to learn? Joseph, what do you want to learn? Marie, what do you want to learn? Welcome, Marie. Thank you for joining. Awesome. Right? And I write down, oh, Joseph, a good friend of, oh, then you know exactly who I was talking about when I was talking about taking Boeing and other companies over the coals, huh? All right. All right. Well, Joseph, welcome aboard. I can't wait to work with you. I'm excited. It's been an exciting ride. It really has. These skills have changed everything about my life. And every time I teach them, I watch other people's lives change in ways that they never even saw coming. It's so powerful and it's so gratifying to watch people finally taking back their lives, right? Anyway, join the mastermind. You'll get it to test drive it for 90 days. If after 90 days, you love the people, you love what you're learning, you love the hands-on, we'll show you how to extend your membership. If after 90 days, you got the skill sets you need, you're making it happen in the real world, you're too busy to come hang out with us on the weekends or whatever, we'll wish you good luck. And we'll wait for you to hear from you again in the future at other trainings and things of that nature. No fuss, no muss, no harm, no foul. I think personally, we have one of the greatest communities on the planet in terms of support, in terms of people willing to help each other, to practice together, all wanting to move the needle of their lives in a more meaningful way. And so I encourage you all to, once you click that link, to really participate in the mastermind, because it really will change your life, right? Total value on this so far is $10,085, but we're not done. For those of you who are impatient like me, we're going to include one of my best-selling courses of all time. This is the Stealth Instant Conversational Hypnosis Crash Course. This is a program I created several years ago, and it's designed for people who are very, very impatient. It's designed for people who don't want to sit through 40 hours of content. They want to hypnotize people right here, right now. And as a byproduct of this training, we're going to give you this full deep dive. It's going to teach you how to hypnotize anyone, anytime, anywhere in normal conversations after only a couple of hours of training. It's going to teach you how to bypass conscious resistance, how to use what we call presuppositional or neurological assumptions to invisibly influence people to do what you want them to do. It's going to teach you how to ethically embed commands and other types of suggestions in your everyday conversations that make people just do what you want. It's going to teach you how to create instant, lasting rapport with people and make your words feel more magnetic and compelling. One of the interesting things about people who really train with stealth on a consistent basis is like people just hang on your every word. After about 10 seconds of talking, you'll just see their heads start to go, and they just give you the bobblehead nod, and they just follow along. It's really cool. People rave about this in pretty much every place they apply it. Therapy, dating, business, sales, leadership, presentations. One of the places that we hear a lot of really powerful responses from people. They can't say they're using it, but teachers are using this to actually cause their students to pay more attention, to become more excited about the work and to install their lessons in the to learn them better and do better on tests. It's really, really powerful. And again, so much of what we do is about communication of information, experience, or outcome. And so this is the fast track. This is the one that's going to get you started the fastest. There's also a bunch of bonuses in here. There's one on anchoring. There's one on lie detection. There's a couple of, I think, 1 or 2 videos on instant hypnotic inductions, where you just go out in the field and just drop people into trance. There's 3 or 4 videos of me teaching hypnotic language patterns at a private home, doing a meetup. So there's lots of really good stuff. There's transcripts, there's MP3s, there's workbooks, there's everything you need. But really, if you want to do the fast start, all you really got to do is watch the first 2 videos, do the workbook, and you're ready to go. Okay. Total value on this is $11,082. We're going to give you this course for free. So, and for those of you who are ready to transform from the inside out, to learn how to change things in ways that most people think like they're stuck with, to change the unchangeable in some cases, for the next 21 people who click that link, that includes Barb and Joseph and everybody else, we're going to give you the fastest, most powerful way to reprogram your mind for power, confidence, and influence. Next 21 people are going to get a free VIP ticket to our next Self-Mastery Supercharger Self-Transformation Hypnosis Bootcamp. This is a 3-day deep dive into the art and science of self-hypnosis and self-transformation using the integrated systems and disciplines of energetics, hypnotherapy, neurolinguistic programming, holographic memory resolution, somatic engagement, and a whole lot more. This is a program that will teach you how to literally remove negativity in your body and mind you didn't even know you had, how to resolve patterns that just keep going away and coming back, right? If you've ever dated the same person with a different face or had the same asshole boss at 12 different jobs, you know exactly what I'm talking about. We'll show you how to dissolve that and get rid of it once and for all. We'll teach you how to move through the world in a state of confidence or playfulness or curiosity as your default way of moving through the world. So people just automatically are primed to respond to you positively. We'll teach you how to change the internal dialogue so that you have this voice in your head that's constantly inspiring you, motivating you, giving you all the reasons why you can do something, you should do something, why you deserve to have something, instead of criticizing you and tearing you down and giving you all the reasons why you're not enough. We're going to completely transform that inner voice. We're going to teach you how to do it. Then we're going to take all of those traits and skills and we're going to install them at the genetic memory level so that when you look back on the past, you only remember it in ways that make your life better. And then we're going to teach you how to install the traits, qualities, and characteristics of people who you truly admire. Okay. This is going to eliminate fear and hesitation in your life. It's going to eliminate self-doubt. It's going to install unshakable inner confidence. You'll be able to command attention without saying a word. You'll be using these neurohypnotic patterns we talked about earlier to inspire change in yourself, create instant trust and deep rapport, first with your own unconscious mind and then people around you. You can speak certain types of words that move emotions, yours specifically, in a very powerful way. You'll be able to diffuse manipulation and conflicts because you won't have the same vulnerabilities that you did prior to the training. You'll speak less and influence more. You'll close more deals, win more negotiations, and you'll understand how to install the success codes of other people into your own mind and body in such a way that you can actually replicate those skills and those traits in your life. Total value for this training is $2,497. We're going to give it to you absolutely free just for clicking that link and being one of the first 21 people to register for this program. So if you did all the math, total combined value on this is $13,579. And that's going to include the Secrets of Human Influence home study course, the Weapons of Mass Instruction Hypnotic Storytelling Secrets, Renegade Reframing, Instant Conversational Belief Change, Charisma and Conversion, the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Trial Membership, the Stealth Instant Conversational Hypnosis Crash Course, and of course, the VIP ticket to the Self-Mastery Supercharger 3-day virtual self-transformation intensive, December 19th through the 21st. And it's done on Zoom. So you don't have to travel. There's no hotels. We don't do these particular trainings virtually very often. So I highly suggest you click your links, grab your packages. You can get it all for one low installment for Thanksgiving of $797. We're taking an extra $200 off our regular webinar price. So rather than $797, you're going to be getting it for $997, or rather than paying the $997, you're going to get it for $997 or $797, and you can break that up into 3 easy installments of just $297 each. Just got to click that link right in the box right there. Go to www.nlppower.com/go. Go ahead and click your links, right? So usually what we do when we reach this part of the webinar is we give a 5 or 10 minute break. Actually, we do an 8-minute break. This allows you to finalize your programs, post any questions that you have for Mia or Moss, as well as Brandon. And then when we come back, I'll answer any questions that you post. And then we're going to go into training the echo technique, because as you can see, so many things rely or are based on the echo technique that it's too important a technique not to have. Now, as some of you look at this package, especially if you've been a veteran of Planet David for a while, you may see programs here that you already own. If you see programs in this package, this offer that you already have, that's okay. Pick up the phone, send Mia or Moss an email, let them know that you have some of this, and we'll let you choose any course in our catalog of equal or lesser value as a substitute for this, for the package. So you can customize your package and get the courses that are going to move your needle forward. So if some of you, like, one of the courses that I would really think is great for you guys to get your hands on as a substitute would be Spycraft. Spycraft is one of our lesser known products. It was a training that I did with Chase Hughes. It was a 4-day event, and we literally just blew the doors off high-level hypnotic persuasion, behavioral influence, trauma resolution, and confidence building. It was a good time. It was so powerful. People have been screaming at us almost 5 years later to do it again. So if you had to substitute something out, that's a great substitute. And it's available as part of your alternate package. So, and you get to see the both of us like tag teaming off each other and stuff like that. So go ahead and click your links. And it is, let me look at the clock. It is 6:03 Pacific my time. I will be back with you at 6:11 at the latest, and we will pick up with part 3 of Secrets of Human Influence. And we're going to cover the echo technique and then the 1 body language cluster that you can use to both influence people instantly and speed read them to know if there's somebody who's going to be open to you approaching. We'll see you in about 7 minutes or so. Take care. Okay. Welcome back, everyone. I know I'm back a little early. So, what questions do you have before we proceed on to the next phase of our adventure? What's going on here? Let's see here. Joseph says, bought the course with a different email than a previous course. Can one of the admins help me merge the accounts? Reach out to Mia, Joseph, and we'll see what we can do with that. That's something that might be a Brandon thing, but we'll see. What other questions you guys have for me? Well, we still have a little Q&A time. Is there anything anything besides the echo technique or specific applications that you guys would like more training or influence on? What would that be for you guys? How do I shift my own limiting beliefs? Okay. So when it comes to shifting your own limiting beliefs, the fastest way to do those things, there's a bunch of different ways to do it. I'll be upfront. And you can point to where you feel it, reach out and touch it, and magic frame it. That usually shifts the beliefs pretty powerfully. You can also spin it, take it out, spin it, put it back in. That'll shift it. You can do what we call color breathing. These are all what we call transformational triad techniques, right? They're not necessarily techniques that we would consider to be techniques of human influence in terms of persuasion, but they're techniques of transformation and alchemy that we use all the time in the clinic. Those will shift your beliefs. The 14 renegade reframing patterns will shift beliefs like it's nobody's business. Lots of ways to do that. Lots of ways to do that. James Henderson, what's the best way to hold on to a state long-term? Is it just a matter of getting practiced at recognizing when you've shifted out of state? That's part of it. One of the things that we do when we're teaching state control at the live events is we'll prime the state. We'll have you write down, let's say we're going to do Master and Commander, right? We'll describe what the characteristics of the Master and Commander frame are, and then we'll have you remember 5 to 10 times in your life when you were in that state and write them down. And then we'll have you remember those states and relive them over and over and over again. And what will happen is when you do that, you're going to fire certain neurological pathways in the brain that have feelings and certain hormonal, I don't want to use the word secretions, it sounds so rude, but there's a certain hormonal set of hormones and neurotransmitters that are secreted in those states. So by firing the neural pathways, layering on similar experiences, you're magnifying and amplifying the electrical as well as the biochemical components of the state. And so what you do then is you link it, and since it's already linked to your posture, you now turn it into a color. And that color becomes the anchor for the state. So that anytime you want to access that state, that particular sequence of neurotransmitters and hormones, physiology, mindset, perceptual filters, all you have to do is imagine the ball of that energy above your head, fill the room with it, and breathe it through your whole body and let your physiology shift back to that particular posture. And you will reliably go into that state on demand. And the more you do it, the faster your system will lock in. Once you have the state primed, right? Once you have the state primed, now you have to embody it and you have to actually extend the state. So what does that actually mean? It means that once I am in the state, I have to functionalize it. So I can stand there with my eyes closed and relive movies, but that doesn't get anything done, right? So now I have to open my eyes
and I have to move my body only and walk around the room. I have to functionalize this state, right? So I have to be able to maintain the state while I'm moving and interacting. And so you start by just doing simple things, opening your eyes and looking around the room from the perspective of Master and Commander, or the Rockstar Meta Frame, or the Open Heart Trust Trigger, or whatever the energy is that you're seeking to embody. You move, you observe the world from that place, and then you break the state, and then you fire it again. And each time you fire it, you break it and fire it, it engages a phenomenon known as fractionation, where every time you bring the state back, you go into the state deeper than the time before. So it amplifies and magnifies that state. And then once you've built the charge of it up to a certain point, now you start moving through the room. But you only move through the room at the rate and speed that you can maintain those body feelings. Right? When you feel the state start to fade, you break it, you go back, you recharge, you reprime, you extend again. Now, the reason we do this is that the state that gets compounded grows stronger and longer. But the idea here is the long-term effect is that state becomes habituated. In other words, rather than it being something you do on special occasions, if you practice it consistently long-term, it will become your default state, and you don't have to think about it anymore. It will just become a natural part of your identity, or that particular identity. And you want it's like you'll move from what we call conscious competence to unconscious competence, where it's just you're in a situation, the state turns on, and that's obviously where we want to be as self-actualizing humans, able to get our outcomes. We want to be able to shift state automatically, but for most of us, our states are random and by default. The context, the environment, the people, that determines what state we go into, rather than us intentionally deciding what state we need to be in, cultivating it, amplifying it, building it, locking it in, and rehearsing it. The reason we have problems is because we don't rehearse the identities we want to have, and we just keep rehashing the ones we've been given. Right? So that's a pretty long, drawn-out explanation, but hopefully it was worthwhile. Marie is saying, my apologies if I missed your response. I thought David would read my question. What was the question, Marie? Did I miss it? I thought I saw a question from you. Oh, Maria says, I joined from Australia. Is that okay? Maria, it is 100% okay. I love my Aussie brothers and sisters. In fact, I need to get down there again and teach a class. Both times I've ever been recognized internationally was in Australia. Like I was walking down the street, literally I hear feet running behind me. I think I'm about to get mugged. I turn around and go, oh, you David Snyder? Hi, David Snyder from YouTube. Bloody hell, what are you doing here? Right? It's really funny. So anyway. So James says, very helpful, thanks. Okay. What other questions do you have? Or is there a specific application you'd like to know more about? No? Okay. Let's talk about the echo technique. Now, Barb says, I don't know enough to ask questions right now. Joseph says, I can't wait to hear you teach the echo. Joseph, you can't wait to hear me teach echo? Okay. Well, I'll let you know when I teach echo. Echo. Yeah, that's good. All right. So, fundamentals first. Here's the rule, guys. The most powerful words any human being can hear at any given moment, cross-contextually, are the words that just came out of their mouth. This is such a, and again, what I'm teaching you goes far beyond words. But words are the currency of influence. And so everything I say, we're gonna build around this concept of language, but understand that the underlying principle of echoing is a very somatic, body-centered, neurological phenomenon. In fact, I'll say it this way. every nervous system on the planet, including yours, including mine, is moving through the world searching for itself. Say that 2 more times. Every nervous system on the planet is moving through the world searching for itself. It is literally looking for the model of the world that is inside of you to be reflected back, because that's how you know it's safe, it's desirable, and it's comfortable. When you start giving a person's words back, every filter in their system goes on alert in a positive way. You see, when people create their map of their internal experiences, I don't want to get too neurolinguistically on you, but let's just say we all have this little checklist in our brain. It's really more than our brain, but we'll go with that. In our brain that says, this is the way the world is supposed to be. And I'm going to project that out into the world and assume that every human being on the planet thinks exactly the same way. That what's important to me is the same thing that's important to you. That the words I use mean the same thing when you use them. That is an assumption that every nervous system on the planet, including yours, is making every moment of every day. And this is why we have the problems that we have. I'm going to give you a secret. And if you can fix this one thing, 9 out of 10 of your communication problems will go away. Okay? And this is what it is. The fundamental flaw in human communication is the disconnect between the intention of a communication and the interpretation of it. We say that 2 more times. The fundamental barrier to human influence is always the disconnect between the intention of a communication and the interpretation of it. If I go over to Kaya and I say, Kaya, you are a ravishing, shining example of genetic perfection. And she looks at me and goes, you chauvinist pig, how dare you insult me that way? Now, my words were very flattering. My delivery was very sincere. My intention was to compliment her. But that's not what she interpreted. So who's right? That's the problem. Because we're both right. I communicated something based on my map of how the world is and how people pay compliments to each other. She interpreted those words based on a different map. A map that says compliments of that nature are demeaning, they're misogynistic, they're part of the patriarchy. Again, I'm sure Kaya's not that way at all, but I happen to know Kaya, so I'm throwing her under the bus as an example. But this is the fundamental flaw, the fundamental sticking point in just about every form of communication that we have. How many people have ever said something and intended good things by that statement, and it was taken in a completely less than positive way, and no matter what you tried to do, you couldn't convince them of what you were actually trying to say? Brent says, yes, talk to my wife. I understand, Brent. I truly do. When communicating with estrogen-based life forms, one must understand communication in a much different way, right? But it's true. Both genders interact with language very, very differently, right? And so I spent a lot of decades of my life, in fact, exploring those kinds of disconnects, and how do we build those bridges and facilitate that communication. And the problem is, you have to remember, it always takes two. But this idea of projection, where we're always projecting outside into the outside world everything that we believe is true and desirable in our own world, that's a constant. Slick Boy Ma says, if I was a hot guy, she would have gone along with it. I guess I'm not a hot guy. I'll work on that. I'm a little old for her anyway. Plus, my wife would probably have something to say about it. So we'll go with it. But the point is that this idea of projection is always happening. Okay. And the real problem happens many times when we have a surface level match, but a deep level disconnect. So what do I mean by that? Let's say that I am a therapist or a counselor of some kind, right? I have person A and person B, right? And I'm counseling these two people. So just so I understand you better, person A, what's something that you absolutely have to feel happy and satisfied and fulfilled in a relationship? And person A says, oh, that's easy, David. Respect. I can't be in a relationship where people don't respect me, right? And I just need to feel that respect coming from my partner. I, as the counselor, say, well, really? That's fascinating. I'm curious about something. Respect, it means different things to different people. So just so I understand you better, how do you know when you're being respected? How do you know when you're someone who's paying you the respect that you want in the way that you know that you're getting it? And person A says, "Oh, it's really simple, Doc. I know you respect me when you just look me in the eye and tell me the truth. Like, you don't sugarcoat it, you don't pussyfoot around, you don't prevaricate or soften. You just tell me it straight, and I'll take it or I won't. I'll like it or I won't. But you tell it to me. That's how I know you respect me." I, as the counselor, say, oh, excellent. I go to his potential partner or her potential partner. And I say, so I'm curious, just so I understand you better, what's something you absolutely have to have in a relationship to stay in that relationship, right? And person B says, well, Doc, I really feel I need to feel like my partner really and truly respects me, like he really has, my best interests at heart, and he tells me the truth. But he does it in a way that's not going to make me feel stupid or hurt my feelings or insult me in any way, right? I, as the loving counselor, say, very good. So you want people to take your feelings into account, say things in a more diplomatic way, perhaps, not hurt your feelings or insult you or make you feel stupid. Excellent. So now let's look at this scenario. Person A, they have a value and a word that defines that value. That value is respect. True, not true? Type it in the chat. There will be a test. This is the training part of tonight's track, right? Person B also has a value that they call what? Respect. Both people have the same word for the value. The value is the feeling they get when that criteria is met. What's the criteria? The criteria is the checklist, the rule that triggers the feeling. And that, in this scenario, is where the disconnect can happen. Because this person is very blunt, very direct. This person is very diplomatic and sensitive. What happens when these two people have a disagreement? Especially if they're not trained. Do you think either one will feel respected by the other? No. Do you think, from each person's perspective, that they're showing respect to the other person? Yes. And this, my friends, is the very rule we just talked about. The difference between intention and interpretation. You see, it's not enough to know the word for a person's value. if you really want to leverage this fundamental aspect of human behavior, you must understand the rules by which that feeling is generated. The feeling, the value, the respect is the name of the feeling. But what creates the feeling is the rules. Direct, soften. Both say truth, so they have an overlap at the truth, but it's the rules that go with it. Okay? So everything starts with echo. And the beautiful thing about echo technique is it will engage all of a person's internal belief systems. It will stimulate all of their values without you ever actually needing to know what those values are. It's simultaneously a direct and indirect influence tool. So once again, the most important words any human being can hear are the ones that just came out of their mouth. Okay. Questions on that before we get into the actual practice, or we walk through how we're going to, what we do with the echo technique. Okay, so before I do that, I see that Mia is giving me a little bit of a hint to drop this in the chat for you guys. So once again, remember that once I'm done teaching the echo technique and I teach what we call positive eye contact, when I log off the webinar, the fast action bonuses go away. So right now, you can get everything we've talked about. You can get access to the complete system, the Secrets of Human Influence home study course, valued at $2,497. The Weapons of Mass Instruction, Hypnotic Storytelling Secrets, Renegade Reframing and the Art of Conversational Belief Change, Charisma and Conversion, NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Trial Membership, the Stealth Instant Conversational Hypnosis Crash Course, and of course, the 3-day virtual training for the Self-Mastery Supercharger, scheduled for December 19th through the 21st online. And Julie, to answer your question, yes, we're looking at Golden Path in June. We're still looking at the final dates. So it will probably be closer to the end of, not June, I'm sorry, January, closer to the end of January, either right before or right after Killer Influence. For those of you who are ready to step up and level up your influence and persuasion, if you've got value from the few pieces we've shared with you and want access to the entire system, the overall package is worth $13,579. You can get it all during our Thanksgiving holiday special for one low installment of $797 or 3 easy installments of $297 each. Okay. So Brent says, outside of the 3-day, these are all video trainings with no interaction with David, correct? Not quite, Brent. Your membership comes with, I'm sorry, let me move this. Your membership comes with a 90-day trial membership to the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program. The Mastermind Mentoring Program is on the 3rd Saturday of every month, and it's conducted live online by me. So you'll have at least 12 to 16 hours, give or take, of classroom time with me in real time, plus hundreds and thousands of hours of archive video that you can binge watch to your heart's content. So you will be part of a group during the mastermind, but it is me. I've taught every single one for the last 15 years. So hopefully that answers your question. And if you want to stay in the mastermind, usually staying in the mastermind is really, really affordable. We keep it affordable intentionally because, again, people need the opportunity to actually embody and get the hands-on and hang out with people who are interested in the same stuff. Because you may notice that when we try to talk to other people about these things, they kind of look at us like we're weird, right? We want to avoid that. So go ahead and click your links, nlppower.com/go. All right, so let me go to my OneNote here. That's not what I want. That's what I want. I got to be honest with you. I absolutely love the echo technique. I'm going to go ahead and change my view here. Maybe this one. We'll try this. Oops. I clicked on the wrong one, guys. That's the problem with modern technology. It's giving us way too many choices. I'm reminded of the immortal words of Henry Ford, who said, the client can choose whatever color they want as long as they choose black. Am I showing up? Yeah, okay, we're good. All right. So the most powerful words any human being can hear at any given moment are the ones that just came out of their mouth, right? When you use a person's own words, it literally forces their own neurology to pay attention almost exclusively to you. If you've ever been at a party, right, a big noisy party, you're on one side of the room, and all of a sudden your name comes up in a conversation all the way on the other side, and from across the room, it's like somebody tapped you on the shoulder and you're like, you just experienced the incredible power and awareness of your unconscious mind. Your unconscious mind is supernaturally sensitive to anything in its environment that it believes pertains to itself. Now, the vast majority of those perceptions are filtered out by your interoceptive and other types of filters within your neurology. It doesn't mean they're not experiencing them, and it doesn't mean they're not impacting you. It just means you're not conscious of them. The few things that make it through those filters into your conscious awareness form the building blocks of your words and your language. But they pass through all kinds of other filters on the way to that. So when somebody speaks, the words that come out of the person's mouth are a key to lock fit to every single level of that person's belief system, every level of their neurology, every level of their value system. It's so powerful. Can I enlarge the notes? I can try. Is that better? If I make them any bigger, actually, I could probably make them bigger. But then it hides the chat. So is that better? Okay, good. Okay. So one of the ways that I used to train this, when I first heard about this, I was not really convinced that this was as powerful as Kenrick used to tell us it was. And I really figured it out when I started selling memberships to my martial arts school when I lived in Coral Springs, Florida. And so I would get phone calls, and I'm gonna do a little like solo demo for you right now to explain what this looks like in actual practice. And what you'll probably hear me do is I'll transition through three things will be happening in this demo. A, the echo technique. You will also probably hear me using something called the master echo sequence. And then you'll also hear me start to do superficial emotional bonding. Now, you can't do echo technique without creating a certain degree of emotional bonding automatically, which is one of the many advantages of this technique, right? It eliminates small talk. Like if you have ever been in a situation where you want to have a conversation with somebody, but maybe they're just so hot or so attractive, or they have so much status, or you're not good at just cold approaching people, and you're afraid to talk to them because you don't want to say something stupid. The echo technique will be the best friend you've ever had. It absolutely eliminates the problem of making small talk and eliminates boring conversations. Why? Because 80% of what comes out of your mouth is what came out of is 100% of what came out of their mouth. Like literally, you just repeat what they say, ask another question, and repeat what they say again, and they'll talk for hours and hours and hours and think you're the most fascinating conversationalist they've ever met. I've literally been on transatlantic flights or trans-Pacific flights. I was literally flying back from Australia, as a matter of fact. And there was a guy sitting next to me, and I couldn't sleep. I had a really rough couple of days, and I was just wired to the point where I couldn't relax enough to go to sleep for many reasons. One of them being cooped up on a plane, but I was looking at the guy. He looked kind of bored, right? Like he was just kind of in his own little world. And so just for fun, I asked him a question. And when he answered, I started doing the echo technique. From the echo technique, I went into the master echo sequence. And from the master echo sequence, I went into what we call 3 magic questions protocol. And this gentleman talked almost the entire 20-hour flight from Australia to LAX. And at the end of the day, it was only when we were getting off the plane that he thought to ask me my name. I knew everything about this man. He knew almost nothing about me. Now, why am I saying this? Is because when you deploy this technique organically and properly, people will just start talking. And here's the secret to this. Let them. Because the longer they talk, actually, well, it happened to me twice. Once on a flight from, I think it was from Iceland to LAX. I was coming back from the UK. And then the other time it was from, I think it was either Auckland or Australia. I can't remember where I was leaving from, but it was back to the States. It was a long flight. And both times, like they didn't get my name until they were getting off the plane. Right? That's what this thing does. So it has to be, it's powerful, but you have to manage it. Right? It will prime your target, and this is important. It will prime your target to keep talking. And they will voluntarily give you more and more and more information so that you can create a very powerful, very robust, very comprehensive profile about them. It sends very powerful signals of sameness to the person you're doing it with. It amps up that affinity quotient that we talked. Remember I said at the beginning of today's training, there are 4 pillars of irresistible hypnotic influence. The first is authority, right? Second is attractivity, being physically or emotionally attractive to someone. The third one is affinity. Affinity is that feeling of, oh, just like me, want to be part of the group, right? That if anything that ramps up solidarity, affinity, connection, community is a powerful hypnotic operator. In fact, there's a whole section devoted to just affinity tactics or social hypnotic operators in your strategic human influence manual. It's important. If you've ever studied any of Robert Cialdini's work, like reciprocity, authority, scarcity, these are all affinity-based tactics that have been socially hypnotizing you into behaving in predictable ways. We are very, very pro-social creatures. And anything that threatens or enhances our acceptance within a group, we are very, very susceptible to. Okay. So this creates a very, very powerful set of signals that make the nervous system believe, oh, they get me. He understands me. She understands me. They're just like me. And so when the nervous system gets those kinds of signals, its guard goes down. It becomes more open, more curious, more focused. And all of these qualities that I'm naming are what we call suggestibility levers. If you ramp up novelty, something that's unusual, I've never met somebody who talked to me and made me feel this way so fast, right? When you talk to somebody and you hear their words and you focus, oh my God, this person's like reading my mind. You focus in on them, right? And you say, oh man, he agrees with me. He's safe. He's validating my experience. It makes you more open. All of those things, novelty, focus, suggestibility, validation, they all amplify a person's willingness to accept suggestion and direction from you. It magnifies rapport like steroids. Okay. Now, we haven't even scratched the surface of everything else that this technique is doing, right? It makes the listener feel heard, understood, and accepted, which means it validates the person and it raises your social status because you're the one who's giving that validation. You're not saying necessarily, oh, I agree with you. Just the fact that you're paying attention at a deeper level than most people have ever thought about and giving that sense of tacit approval makes them feel good, and it puts you in the authority position. And authority, what do we say, is what? It's a hypnotic, it's one of those 4 pillars of irresistible hypnotic influence, isn't it? So yes, it's going to give you authority. Will it make the person like you physically and emotionally? Yes. Will it make you feel connected to that person like they're just like you? Oh my God, look at what we've got. I said there were 4 pillars. You only needed 1 or 2. There's 3 right there. Okay. Matches every internal filter that they have. It indirectly links to their deep emotional needs, right? It goes to the phases in the universal persuasion protocol where we jump into their process, and it goes right to their emotional bonding. So how do we do this then? It's super simple. We just repeat whatever words they say verbatim. If they say, did you know the dog was brown? I'll say, wow, did you know the dog was brown? Did you know the dog was brown? Right? See how I change the inflection or the emphasis on a particular word, but I don't change the word itself? This is one of the ways that you can mask the echo technique and still use it. Now, let me jump out of this really quick. The important thing to remember is that when we're using the echo technique, the roughest way to use it is the way I'm teaching you right now. But this is the way we teach all newbies to use the echo technique. You listen to what they say, and you repeat back as much of what they say in your response as you can remember. When you get more advanced, you can start with the first thing they said. You can start with the last thing they said. You can start with something they said in the middle, right? But the reason that we teach beginners to remember everything is that most beginners don't have the sensory acuity to pick up subtleties of language and use them. So what do I mean by that? If I were to talk to somebody about something that they love, or an experience, one of their biggest experiences ever, as they're talking to me about those experiences, there will be certain phrases, certain words that have a deeper emotional charge to them. And because of that deeper emotional charge, when the client or the subject speaks those words, they will put some kind of unconscious emphasis on the word. What might they do? They might pause when they say the word, like, oh, best time ever. Right? Or they might say, or their volume might go, best time ever. Right? Or they might speed up when they say it, best time ever. Right? Or they might, but here's the thing. Most people are trying to remember all of the things the person said, remember all the techniques they know, try to figure out how to create a question or a dialogue. And so because they're trying to do all those basic things, they often miss the subtle emphasis. Sometimes it's a gesture, sometimes it's a volume shift, sometimes it's an energy in the word. And those are the words that have the greatest amount of leverage within that person's system. So how do we beat that? How do we make sure that those words don't get missed? Well, it's very simple. If you just tell them, if you just say everything that they said, you can't miss the word. And as you keep practicing with those larger and larger chunks of information, your linguistic centers and your ability to process higher and higher quantities of information will grow. It's called specific adaptation to imposed demand. So before you know it, you can memorize paragraphs of information, exactly what they said, know exactly what words they emphasize, what phrases to repeat multiple times, all while they're talking, right? It's kind of like when you're playing an instrument, right? Or when you're first learning to drive. You guys remember when you're first learning to drive, especially if you learned on a stick shift, right? Where you had to press down the clutch, move the gear shift, let off the clutch, hit the gas, all without stalling the damn car, right? 3, 4, 5 weeks later, you're doing your hair, you're doing your makeup, you're shifting the gears, right? Holding a coffee cup between your legs, right? You shouldn't do that, by the way, right? All while operating very complicated mechanical skill sets. Why? Because you just did it so often, your brain got better at it. It's called specific adaptation to imposed demand. SAID. Okay. So I'm going to give you the demo real quick, but I wanted to give you I wanted to give you guys the nomenclature first, just so you know you guys have the teachings that go with this. So I'm not going to teach this in the webinar, but it'll be covered very extensively in your package, the master echo sequence. You ask a question, you pay attention to the response, you validate their response, you echo their words, you ask another question. That is the master echo sequence, and that's where all of my advanced persuasion students, that's kindergarten for them, right? Once they get past the echo technique and they're into conversational frameworks, which you'll learn about again in your training, this is where you go next. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and jump out of this, and I'm going to go ahead and role play this for you. Okay, so this is almost verbatim how I would enroll martial arts students in my course. So I'm going to be role playing Bernice, who is our heroine, and myself as a martial arts instructor. So it goes something like this. Ring, ring. Good afternoon, Coral Springs Martial Arts Academy. This is David. How can I help you? Oh, hey, David. My name is Bernice. I saw your sign, and I see you teach karate. And I was curious. About karate lessons for my 10-year-old son, Josh. Do you guys take kids? Oh, hey, Bernice. So you saw our sign about karate lessons, and you were interested in karate lessons for your 10-year-old son, Josh, and you're wondering if we take 10-year-olds. Bernice, I can assure you, we love 10-year-olds. We have tons of 10-year-olds. Bernice, I'm curious about something, just so I understand you better. What's important to you about karate lessons for your 10-year-old son, Josh? Oh, David, so much. It's like, first of all, let me tell you about Josh a little bit. Josh is really great. He's awesome. He's really smart, and in fact, he's so smart that his teachers are actually moving him up a grade, and that's kind of the reason I'm calling, because he's going to be with a lot of older kids, and I had heard that martial arts is a good way for kids to be more focused and confident, and he's kind of small for his age, and I'm afraid that the kids might pick on him, and so I heard that karate was a good way for kids to protect themselves against bullying and stuff like that. Is that true? Bernice, that is 100% true. So let me see if I've got the story straight. So Josh is a great kid. He's really smart. In fact, he's so smart that his teachers actually moved him up a grade. And that's actually the reason you're calling, because he's going to be around a lot of older kids. He's a little small for his age. and you're afraid that the bigger kids might bully him, and you'd heard that martial arts was a great way to develop focus and confidence. Did I get that right, Bernice? David, that's 100% right. Thank you so much. Can you help me? Bernice, 100% we can help you. Listen, let me tell you something. For hundreds of years, the martial arts has been a powerful and effective way for 10-year-old kids who are small, just like Josh, to get the focus and the confidence and the discipline to be able to excel in their studies and to protect themselves against bullies and larger opponents. As Josh goes through our training, he'll learn how to focus. He'll develop confidence and the ability to stand up for himself in different situations and circumstances. So whenever those bullies come around, they'll know he's not going to be somebody who's going to just take it. You're going to find out he's going to have more focus. His grades are going to improve. And when you look back on how well Josh is doing, you'll be glad that you got him enrolled in the karate lessons. But just so I understand you better, if we could do those things for Josh, give him the confidence and the focus and the ability to, stand up to bullies. Bernice, I'm curious about something a little bit more personal, if it's okay to ask. What's that going to do for you if you were to see Josh thriving like that, focused and confident, able to take care of himself? I'm curious, just so I understand you better, what's important to you about that? Oh my God, David, I would have so much peace of mind. Like just knowing that my son is strong and he's confident and he's healthy and he can take care of himself. That would be such a relief. I'd be like 1,000-pound weight taken off my shoulders. Wow. Well, you know what, Bernice? I'm here to help you remove that 1,000-pound weight, take that 1,000-pound weight right off your shoulders. Because I promise you, as Josh goes through that training, you're going to see him grow into a confident, strong, focused, successful student. And when you move through the world and you see him handling himself, you're going to realize that the peace of mind you're feeling is a direct result of you making the decision to bring him in today. And speaking of that, we have a couple of slots available. I have a slot today at 5:30 p.m. and I have a slot tomorrow at 6:45 p.m. And our basic introductory program is 2 private lessons and 1 group class. It comes with a free uniform and it gets us a chance to get to know Josh, find out a little bit more about how he behaves, how he responds to groups. Just so I understand you better and just so I can help you guys move forward, which time is a better time slot for you? Would you rather have him come in today at 5:30 or would 6:45 tomorrow be better? Well, I think 6:45, David, might be a little late. So maybe I'll have him do his homework and then I'll just bring him right in and we'll do the lesson. Would today at 5:30 be okay? Well, let me look. Yeah, I think we can put you in. And in fact, I'm available, so you'll be working directly with me. How does that sound? Oh my God, that sounds great. Right? Okay, so I'll pencil you in for 5:30, Bernice, and we'll see you and Josh in just a little while. Have a great day. Thank you, David. I'll see you soon. Bye. Click. Okay. So, what did you notice about that interaction? What'd you learn? What's your takeaway? Echoing a lot? Yes. Asking what's important to you about that? Yes. That's the emotional bonding question, by the way. Right. We didn't have a chance to talk too much about it, but you'll get a deep dive in it in your program. So what I demonstrated in this program, in this demo, was 3 things. 4 things, actually. I demonstrated the echo technique constantly, right? I softened everything. So I said, just so I understand you better, I'm curious, I'm wondering. Those little phrases in front of a question soften and make everything more conversational and less like an interview or an interrogation. My good friend Chris Stombaugh, who was a student of mine, the butter doesn't melt in his mouth because he is so good at softening every single thing he does. No one hears him coming. Okay, and to just pick on Joseph really quick. What I was doing to the best of my ability, Joseph, was not active listening. It was, in fact, echoing. active listening will work, but it's not a 100% match to what came out of their mouth. And because of that, when you paraphrase people, you run the risk of mistranslation error. In other words, if someone says respect and I say validation, even though I might mean the same thing, right? In my world, it doesn't mean the same thing. It's a different word. And you get a different set of neurological responses because it's a different word. So the way to bulletproof all of your communication is to deviate as little as possible from the words that come out of the person's mouth. Fastest way to screw up a conversation is to mismatch their language. Fastest way to save a conversation is to match their language. I've seen this happen over and over. Don't believe me. Just go out and test it. Go say something wrong, see the rapport break, start echoing their words, and watch how quickly rapport comes back. Okay? When in doubt, echo it out. Now, what I did when I was in conversation with Bernice, I asked her, I found out her rules, right? What does she want for her son? Right? And I gave that back to her because she heard it back in almost the same way she said it. She was like, oh my God, he gets me. Oh my God, he understands. And so her trust in me goes up. And that's the thing that we don't talk about quite as much when we teach echo technique. If you want people to trust you, like really trust you, learn how to echo people really, really well. Because sameness leads to comfort. Comfort leads to predictability. Predictability leads to trust. And that's all real trust really is predictability. If somebody says something to us, they have such a track record that we know that they're going to do it. That's prediction. That's how we get trust. Trust and predictability come from pattern recognition. Pattern recognition is how our nervous system spots its own language coming back to it and logs it, registers it as same as me. So they will trust you to the degree they trust themselves over time. Now, that presupposes, of course, that you're actually going to be consistent with the things you promise, right? If you're echoing their words and you're just feeding them a line of bullshit, well, the behavior is going to out you because of the incongruity. But if you're sincere in your approach, it's only going to cement, deepen, and accelerate trust and comfort, and in many cases, attraction to you. Okay? It's really, I can't believe that people don't get this, even after all the years I've been teaching it. And I still use it. I get called on it all the time. Like people try, like I'll be in a seminar. You guys can watch the videos on YouTube. You see it happen. Happened in Spycraft. I was teaching like 50 people about the echo technique. And one person stood up, raised his hand and said, I don't believe that works. And I said, you don't believe it works? He goes, no, I don't believe it works. So why don't you believe it works? And I echoed him for the next 10 minutes. And he didn't catch it. Everyone around him was laughing their ass off. He can't figure out why. The vast majority of people have blindness, conscious blindness for their own words and behaviors. It doesn't mean it's not impacting them. But human beings calibrate things based on difference more often than not. How different is what that person's saying versus what I'm doing inside? That creates novelty. And our brain is designed to look for novelty because that's how it sorts for danger. It looks for things that don't match. When it finds things that match, it relaxes and stops looking as hard, right? It all goes back to your reptile brain, right? But notice none of it has anything to do with logic. None of it has anything to do with facts. It has everything to do with projection and reception. What the nervous system projects, the nervous system accepts. Say that 2 more times. What the nervous system projects, the nervous system accepts. And once you've used that perception acceptance bridge and hacked into their nervous system, now anything you describe, that nervous system will accept and run like a program. Right? It gets progressively easier once you start doing this. But anyway, that's about all the time we have for today. I'm going to go through last call for this. Right? Once again, if you were on the fence, right? This is the Secrets of Social Influence home study course. It comes with the Hypnotic Storytelling Secrets, the Instant Conversational Belief Change Program, the Hypnotic Presentation Skills Package, the 3-month Mastermind Mentoring hands-on trainings, and the archive, the Stealth Instant Conversational Hypnosis Crash Course, and of course, the 3-day Self-Mastery Supercharger virtual intensive, December 19th through the 21st. Okay. So if you've been on the fence for that, when would now be a good time to go ahead and finalize your order, reserve your spot. Now there's one last thing I want to leave you guys with, because I promised you I would do it. And that's this. I promised you that I would teach you a body language trick that you can use to look at somebody and know if they're going to be open to your influence, someone who's going to be less open, someone who's attracted to you or not, or how you can generate attraction in other people. It's all the same body language cluster. This particular body language cluster is known as positive eye contact. Positive eye contact is a behavioral cue cluster that has 3 data points in it. Okay, a genuine smile, eye contact, and an eyebrow flash. So when I look at someone, I go, "Hi, how you doing?" Right? Notice how the little lines at the side of my eyes, they kind of wrinkle up. That's called a Duchenne smile. When I look at somebody and I make eye contact with them for the first time, I want to know, when they smile at me, do 2 things happen. When they smile, do the eyebrows, do the lines at the side of the face wrinkle? The zygomatic bone, do they wrinkle up like crow's feet? And does the eyebrow raise? If they look at me, smile, and the wrinkles happen and the eyebrows go up and down, whether it's big or small, that person is open to being approached and talked to. They're more open to you. If you do that with somebody and they smile, but there's no wrinkles, or they smile, but there's no eyebrow flash, this person is not open. If you get eye contact, no smile, and you get more of a pursing of the lips and a furrowing of the eyebrows, this person is hostile in some way. There's some kind of hostility that they're feeling, or antipathy that they're feeling towards you. So this is good, not so good, right? Now the flash can be initiated by the other person, or you can initiate it. For training purposes, your first set of drills is to just move through the world, make eye contact, and smile, and see if they give you the eyebrow flash. That's it. So look in the eye, smile, wait for the eyebrow flash. If you don't get the eyebrow flash, give them the eyebrow flash, smile, and say hi. That will give you the practice of just breaking that ice or breaking that membrane. But I want you to move through the world, and all I want you to do is calibrate when you make eye contact and you smile, what kind of smile are you getting? If they're dead from the nose up, it's not legitimate. It's a social smile. Bell says, "Can I show the eyebrow flash again?" Watch closely. There it goes. I'll do it in slow motion. Now that's going to be a meme forever. But now different people in different parts of the world will do that eyebrow flash different ways. You see a lot of people on the East Coast. You'll see this happen. "Hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing?" right? Some people will be really small, like, right? Some people will get playful with it and they'll go, right? The eyebrow flash is what we call in, I think it's zoology, or maybe it's biology. I'm not sure which. It's called what we call a key stimulus. All mammals do the eyebrow flash, and it signals friend or foe. So the moment we get this, in some circles, this particular eyebrow flash was known as the unconscious hello. We combine it with eye contact and a Duchenne smile, because then it becomes what we call a behavioral cluster that is a reliable indicator of someone who's willing to be approached and talked to, or who's open to it, as opposed to being closed off. If you send those signals out and you don't get it, you've got to warm that one up a bit more. Brian Patterson says, very grateful to be on your webinar, Dr. David. Thank you for everyone. Thank you, everyone. All right. Well, my friends, hopefully I delivered my promises. If you've been on the fence, one would now be a good time to go ahead and click that link. Remember, payment plans are available, and I will see you. So Kaya is saying this, but only to do it when needed. For your training purposes, I would do it with everyone. Because the only way that you're going to prove this to yourself is by having a very large population and sample size. And then once you understand it and you've internalized it, now you can become selective and targeted with it. But at the beginning of these things, echo technique, softening, emotional bonding, positive state control, knowing your outcome, positive eye contact, you need to do it a lot. And you need to do it with as many different people in as many different environments as possible, and just make a game out of it. Again, walking the street depends on the street you're walking in, right? If you're in a small town and at home and you know everybody, no problem, right? Again, be smart with this, because again, you're sending out intentional body language signals. And remember, we know what we intend, but we don't know what people are going to interpret. So again, use a little common sense. If you're in a bad part of town, or you're walking by yourself at night somewhere, maybe eyebrow flashing somebody isn't the smartest place to practice, right? Find places that are safe. Okay? In the words of the immortal Carol Burnett, I'm so glad we had this time together just to have a laugh or sing a song. Seems we just got started, and before you know it, comes the time we have to say so long. Good night, my friends. Click those links. I'll see you on the other side. And if I don't see you before then, before the weekend, have a great Thanksgiving. Good night and God bless. Take care.